Chapter 560 The Tragic Aurora Kingdom. Pass on the message. Zhou shook his head and did not think too much about it. These two Lord Talents were generally positive enhancements. He could not use them just because of this small guess. Then, he took out a mirror from his king's treasure box and looked at himself in it. Not surprising to him, his appearance had not changed. Sometimes it's not good to be too handsome. There's no room to improve. Zhou said regretfully. Then, he opened the kingdom channel and took a look. In the end, he realized that while he had just obtained these two Lord Talents, some subjects had already acutely discovered the buff changes that the beauty had given them. I just looked in the mirror and realized that I suddenly seemed to have become better looking. Ah. You've changed too. I thought I was the only one who became handsome. I thought this was my golden finger. Did you just realize? I was eating with my friends in a restaurant just now. As we ate, we suddenly felt a warm current flow through our bodies. Then, we realized that our looks seemed to have been optimized. Yes. It's optimization. I can tell that I didn't turn into anyone else. It seems that I only improved on my appearance. I like this improvement. +1. I just confirmed one thing. The appearance of all the subjects in our Blazing Sun Kingdom has improved, including the Lords of the Star Alliance and their subjects. They and their subjects can be considered subjects of the Blazing Sun Kingdom as a subordinate territory after all. Fuck. My kingdom is awesome. My kingdom is awesome. I'm so curious. What's going on? Zhou smiled and typed, Blazing Sun Kingdom, Lord of the Blazing Sun, everyone's appearance has improved. Consider it a gift from me to everyone. I hope everyone will like it. If you want to maintain your original appearance, you can private message the channel administrator. I can take back this upgrade, but there's only one chance. Everyone, if you want to undergo this change, please look for me again. As the owner of a lord, he could still do such a small thing. However, as soon as he sent it, the subjects below immediately replied. I'm shocked. It's actually a gift from His Majesty. Your Majesty, you can actually do such a thing. Long live His Majesty. From now on, His Majesty is my loyal faith. Long live your Majesty. Don't take it back. I like this improvement. I like it too. Who doesn't like their handsome self? Yes, I like this improvement. There won't be a problem finding a wife in the future. I think there's still a problem. After all, you've become more handsome and the female subjects have become prettier. Perhaps your standards have also increased. I vomit. How can this still be rolled up internally? Then he'll go out and find a wife. That's true. Then he'll go out and find a wife too. Recently, there has been a new airport in the city. 3 idle black ghosts have been changed from military use to civilian use. It's said that I can take them to other places, including the locations of the other Lords of the Star Alliance, and even foreign countries. I've decided. I want to go overseas to find a wife with my current looks. I want to go overseas too and bring glory to the country. Bring glory to the country +1. Bring glory to the country +2. Bring glory to the country +10,000. Zhou, what happened? Why does everyone suddenly want to bring glory to the country? Moreover, is this how people bring glory to the country? Zhou was speechless. However, he did not intend to interfere. Subjects had the freedom to do whatever they wanted. Moreover, it was a good thing to see more of the world. With the enhancement of the 2 new Lord Talents, they might give him a surprise. He did not interfere, nor did he want to keep this matter a secret. The upgrade of his appearance was national after all. It was impossible to keep it a secret. However, Zhou Zhou did not expect that at this moment, these two lord talents that were not of much use to him would give him a huge surprise in the future. After Zhou Zhou closed the world channel, he looked at the last page of the loot's list in his hand. That was the list of soldiers recorded by the original Aurora Kingdom's great general. Zhou Zhou looked over and could not help but be shocked. This was because it was written on the soldier list that there were only about 200,000 soldiers left in the Aurora Kingdom who maintained their combat strength. The other about 1.3 million soldiers of the Aurora Kingdom either died in battle or were seriously injured and could not continue with their military service. The original 3 heroes of the Aurora Kingdom suffered huge losses as well. The Dark Spirit Mage had died on the battlefield against the Taiyan Kingdom, while one of the other 2 heroes was also seriously injured and was still bedridden. As for the other hero, he had suffered minor injuries and had recovered. So tragic, Zhou Zhou clicked his tongue. He thought for a moment and looked up at Bai Yun. Go to the Aurora Kingdom tomorrow and find my father-in-law. Then send some messages for me. First, if the soldiers who were injured in the war with the Taiyan Kingdom are willing to join the Blazing Sun Army and continue to be soldiers, we can give them completely free treatment and let them have a healthy and complete body again. We can treat them even if they are missing an arm or a leg. And their treatment after joining the army will definitely not be bad. Secondly, get my father-in-law to send over a relic of the Dark Spirit Mage. I can revive him. In addition, send a few brilliant doctors to look for the 2 heroes from the original Aurora Kingdom. Check their bodies and treat them so that they can recover. In addition, invite the 2 heroes to work for me. If they're unwilling, don't force them. Thirdly, tell my father-in-law that the original Aurora Kingdom has been changed to the Aurora Kingdom State. If he's willing, he can be the governor of the Aurora Kingdom State and take on all major and minor matters. If he's unwilling, we can let him recommend suitable talents. If that doesn't work, we can get Zheng Yuanqi to send an official who's proficient in handling government affairs to take over the Aurora Kingdom. Also, tell Zheng Yuanqi to set up the Nether Bark Kingdom and the Taiyan Kingdom as the Nether Bark State and the Taiyan State after occupying all the areas of the Nether Bark Kingdom. And the original area of our Blazing Sun Kingdom will be called the Central Continent. After these 5 new states are established, we must replenish the positions of the corresponding local officials in the shortest time possible and restore good social order before the war as soon as possible so that the subjects can live in safety and peace. There's more. We have to develop the high-level elemental gem resources and other resources in the Titan state as soon as possible. Zhou Zhou spoke for a long time before stopping. The war ended and the new country had begun. There were too many things to do and prepare. What he was instructing now was only a portion. He could only leave the other matters to officials like Zheng Yuanqi and take it slow in the future. Chapter 561 The Development of the Gnome Alchemy Workshop. Wutu's Map. Yes. I'll remember. Bai Yun said respectfully. Zhou Zhou nodded. The soldiers of the Aurora Kingdom were all veterans who had experienced a huge battle. Such veterans were experienced. Not only could they play a greater role on the battlefield, they could also familiarize the recruits with the battlefield and nurture them into veterans. Zhou Zhou had only been in the High Continent for a short period of time. Therefore, he yearned for these veterans to join him, even if he had to pay a price. As for reviving and healing the 3 heroes of the original Aurora Kingdom, it was just a convenient thing for him. In any case, he did not lack faith divine crystals now. It would naturally be best if those 3 heroes could join him because of this. If that didn't work, he would not lose much. Let them stay in the territory of the kingdom. This way, Zhou Zhou did not believe that they would watch coldly if an enemy pounced on him when he went out to fight in the future. However, the possibility of such an accident was very small. Firstly, as he occupied the 4 kingdoms, the city walls of the Supreme Defense would be raised in all the regional territories. With the Supreme Defense in place, he could completely bring his soldiers back to the territory to provide support immediately after he received the news of attacks. Secondly, after the god of death statue was built, the enemy would be affected by the fear of death once they entered the kingdom area and started fighting. Their combat strength would decrease greatly. Unless the other party was too strong, it would not cause much harm. Thinking of this, Zhou Zhou looked at Bai Yun again. After you go out, get Zhao Changshou and Ashburn Hall to come over. He said. Yes, Your Majesty. Bai Yun nodded and turned to leave. Zhao Changshou and Ashburn Hall came over. Greetings, Your Majesty. The two of them said respectfully and led the way. Zhou Zhou nodded. After the two of them sat down, he looked at Ashburn Hall and smiled ruefully. Long time no see, right? Your Majesty is busy every day. I understand, Your Majesty. Moreover, ain't I seeing you now? Ashburn Hall smiled. Zhou Zhou nodded and looked at his attribute information. In the end, he realized that the current Ashburn Hall was already a white platinum tier advanced grade alchemy technician and a diamond tier elementary grade alchemy pharmacist. You've improved significantly recently. Zhou Zhou was surprised. If not for His Majesty investing a large amount of resources in our alchemy technology and potion manufacturing department and giving me sufficient resources and conditions, I wouldn't have been able to improve so quickly. Ashburn Hall said even more respectfully. The current Gnome Alchemy Workshop was no longer the small workshop that could only produce life potions, energy potions, and mechanostriders. With Zhou Zhou's vast amount of mist cores, potion formulas, alchemy technology formulas, corresponding medicinal herbs, and alchemy materials, the current Gnome Alchemy Workshop had already become the official alchemy technology research department and potion manufacturing department of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Not only was it in charge of the alchemy technology production and potion manufacturing in the entire Blazing Sun Kingdom, the potions needed for Zhou Zhou's army's daily battles were provided by them. Moreover, he had also dabbled in medicinal herb nurturing, formula research, alchemy technician, alchemy pharmacist talent nurturing, and many other fields. Linger's Divine Herb Garden also had a close cooperation with them. Even the newly established spaceship flying business in the territory was developed by Ashburn Hall and Wenya. The Black Ghost was only the beginning. According to Ashburn Hall's thoughts, since low-level land and air transportation like the Mechanostrider had gradually faded from the vision of the army with the establishment of the spaceship factory and the popularization of spaceships like the Starry Night, it was better to gradually convert it into civilian transportation. It allowed the subjects of the Blazing Sun Kingdom to live a life of going out and taking a car or even a personal aircraft. Zhou Zhou naturally agreed with this idea. The development and popularity of transportation was one of the important factors that determined the strength of the country. It could also increase the subjects' personal wealth and national taxes. He had no reason to refuse. This is for you. Get the potion manufacturing department to create a batch of such potions as backup. Zhou Zhou stopped chatting and took out the giant god potion and handed it to Ashburn Hall. Ashburn Hall took it and looked at the formula for the giant god potion. Surprise flashed across his eyes before he said respectfully, "I'll do it immediately." "Go on." "Yes, I'll take my leave." Ashburn Hall left. Seeing this, Zhou Zhou took out the building blueprint of the God of Death statue and handed it to Zhao Changshou. "Uncle Zhao, build this God of Death statue as soon as possible." Zhou Zhou said. The day after tomorrow, the Supreme Will would activate the King of 10,000 Kings event. He did not know what the specific content of the event was. However, danger was certain according to history. It was better to build this God of Death statue as soon as possible. Zhao Changshou took the blueprint and looked at it. His expression immediately became serious. It could make the invading enemy fear death. The effect of this God of Death statue could almost be said to be a treasure to protect the country. "I will definitely do it immediately," Zhao Changshou said solemnly. Zhou Zhou nodded. Zhao Changshu had built most of the buildings in the Blazing Sun Kingdom for him. He was at ease with him. Then, the two of them chatted for a while. Zhao Changshu smiled and said, "Your Majesty. Tomorrow is the founding ceremony and your ascension ceremony. Is your Majesty prepared?" Zhou smiled and nodded. He was quite looking forward to the founding ceremony and his ascension ceremony. At this moment, Aliyah knocked on the door and walked in after getting permission. "Your Majesty, Heavenly Map Army, Legion Commander Wu Tu requests an audience." Aliyah said respectfully. "Let him in." "Yes." Aliyah left. "If your Majesty is busy, he'll also start preparing to build the statue of the God of Death." Zhao Changshu also stood up. "Go on." Zhou acknowledged. Zhao Changshu took his leave. Soon, Wu Tu walked in. "Greetings, Your Majesty," he said respectfully. "What happened?" Zhou asked curiously. "Your Majesty. This is the map I just gathered. This map includes the distribution of the 16 kingdoms of the people of foreign races in the Alliance army today. Moreover, there are also 6 other unfamiliar people of foreign race kingdoms and 3 unfamiliar human kingdoms. They're all beginner kingdoms without exception. Lastly, there's an intermediate kingdom called the Ice Demon Kingdom in the north of these beginner kingdoms. This Ice Demon Kingdom is very close to the people of Foreign Race Alliance. I have a bold guess. I'm afraid the Ice Demon Kingdom has also secretly interfered in today's battle. However, we didn't obtain much map information about this unfamiliar intermediate kingdom. Your Majesty, please give us more time. I will definitely be able to lead the Heavenly Map Army and obtain all the map information of this intermediate grade kingdom." Wu Tu said in a low voice as he handed the thick map booklet to Zhou. Chapter 562 Intermediate Kingdom, Ice Demon Kingdom. Zhou was shocked at the extent of the large map that included 25 beginner kingdoms and an intermediate grade kingdom called the Ice Demon Kingdom. He immediately took the map from Wu Tu and began to flip through it page by page. Towards the end, he saw the map symbol of an intermediate grade kingdom that was larger than the territory of the 16 people of foreign races combined. It was marked, Intermediate Kingdom, Ice Demon Kingdom. Zhou heaved a sigh of relief. Where did this map come from? Zhou looked at Wu Tu and asked. For the past 2 days, Wu Tu had been leading the Heavenly Army to constantly fight with him. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have had time to bring people to gather so much map information. Your Majesty. There are some map-type resources among the many treasures and resources brought back by the army today. These map-type resources should be the accumulation of the Nether Bark Kingdom and the Titan Kingdom over the past hundreds or thousands of years. I led more than 100 trusted high-level cartographers to classify and integrate these map-type resources before finally obtaining such a map. Wu Tu said respectfully. Zhou came to a realization. No wonder. It turned out to be the map information accumulated by the Titan Kingdom and the Nether Bark Kingdom over the past hundreds of years. Not bad. You did a good job. With this map, it will be easier for us to take revenge on them in the future. I'll remember your contribution. Go get the military merit reward from the military officials later. Remember to get a portion for the cartographers who organized this map. Zhou smiled and commended. Thank you, Your Majesty. Actually, this is our job. Wu Tu said excitedly and embarrassedly. Zhou smiled. The two of them chatted for a while before Wu Tu left. Zhou looked at the thick map booklet for a while. Finally, his gaze landed on the map of the Ice Demon Kingdom. He thought about it and called over the 5 heroes of the people of foreign race who had surrendered today and began to ask some questions. Zhou was left alone in the room after they left. At this moment, he already knew what he wanted to know. Wu Tu was right. This Ice Demon Kingdom is indeed related to today's battle. So the Ice Demon Kingdom also knew about the divine artifact of the race in my hands and was afraid of my identity as the strongest lord of all races, so they secretly commanded some beginner kingdoms of the people of foreign races to cooperate with the Nether Bark Kingdom, wanting to test my methods. TSK. A dignified veteran intermediate kingdom is actually so cautious. But then again, even though this Ice Demon Kingdom is a little far from my territory, they can reach me if they spend some time and build more spatial teleportation arrays. I have to let it go for now. Let's start with destroying these dogs. Zhou looked at the territories of these people of foreign races and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. He would not show any mercy to enemies who had attacked him. When his wings grew stronger and he was confident in dealing with the Ice Demon Kingdom, he would attack them. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Enter. Zhou said without looking up, his gaze fixed on the map in his hand. The door was gently opened and a beautiful figure walked in. Zhou looked up and saw Liya coming over. Didn't you go back to accompany father-in-law? Zhou asked in surprise. I'm done. So I came back. Liya giggled and then became serious. Of course. I'm here to look for you for something serious. I'm not here to disturb you. Liya did not want her relationship with Zhou to affect Zhou's national matters. In the High Continent, a world filled with lord wars. Obsession with romance every day was harmful to both individuals and the country. As a former princess of a country, she understood all these. Doing this would be a huge disregard to the people. Only women who did not do any chores all day long and only liked to read romance books would feel that monarchs were very carefree. Liya would only feel that such a monarch was irresponsible. Are the original lords of the Aurora Kingdom here? Zhou thought for a moment and remembered. Emichim. It's not just the lords of the Aurora Kingdom. The Titan Kingdom has also brought over all the lords in their country. They're waiting at the administrative hall now. Liya said. Already? Aren't they quite efficient? Zhou asked in surprise. It was fine with the Aurora Kingdom. He went this morning after all. It was not surprising to send the lords over through teleportation arrays and other means of transportation for the entire day. However, he had just returned to the Titan Kingdom not long ago. Fens had actually gathered all the lords of their original kingdom so quickly. This efficiency was indeed very high. It seemed that it valued what he had ordered very much. This attitude made Zhou very comfortable. It seemed that the other party was indeed sincere in submitting. Let's go. Without hesitation, Zhou stood up and went to the administrative hall with Liya. Soon, the two of them arrived at the administrative hall. In the huge administrative hall sat more than 10,000 Aurora Kingdom humans and titans. If not for the fact that the current administrative hall had already reached 20 hectares after being promoted to White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade, it would not have been able to accommodate these 10,000 lords. Greetings, Your Majesty. When Zhou arrived, the other lords stood up and bowed respectfully as a human lord led the way. Even though the voice of a lord was not loud, the sound of more than 10,000 lords converging echoed in the entire administrative hall. Everyone, take a seat. Zhou said. Only then did the lord sit down. Your Majesty. This is the specific list of all the lords. Their abilities, strength, and previous lord experiences are also recorded at the back. Zheng Yuanqi, who had been waiting here, took out a stack of lists and handed them to Zhou. Zhou took it and looked at it. He nodded slightly. On this list of lords, there were a total of 5,461 former Aurora Kingdom lords and 10,631 former Titan Kingdom lords. There were a total of 16,092 lords. How many Lord Talent Crystal fragments would he obtain with so many lords? He was looking forward to it. Then, Zhou suppressed the excitement in his heart and looked at the 10,000 lords in front of him as usual. I summoned you here today to see your aptitudes. If your potential is outstanding, this king will not be stingy with the rewards. Chapter 563 Master Thief's Robbery Gloves that can be used from afar. The Blazing Sun Kingdom has just been built, and the system of transforming the 5 kingdoms into 5 states has just been established. Currently, the cities in various regional territories in the 5 states are seriously lacking capable officials. After I check your aptitudes, you can take over according to the arrangements. There will not be any difference in treatment. If you do well in government affairs, it won't be a problem for you to be promoted and get rich in the future. Especially when it comes to the Mist Corps. As long as everyone does well, I won't disappoint you at least in terms of the Mist Corps reward. I just hope that you won't think that the reward for the Mist Corps is too much. Of course, if someone breaks the law knowingly and treats the laws of the Blazing Sun Kingdom as nothing, don't blame our retaliation for being too harsh. Zhou's words were very straightforward. However, there was no choice. He really had a lot of Mist Corps. The 2.5 times enhancement with the King of Loot's title was no joke. The lords were stunned by Zhou's wealth. His Majesty seemed a little different from the king they had followed in the past. He was a little too bold. Then, they became excited. Who didn't love money? It's still better to follow His Majesty. At this moment, Zheng Yuanqi was also prepared. He sent someone to distribute more than 10,000 books recording the reward and punishment system to each lord. When the lords saw the specific reward and punishment system, they immediately understood Zhou's generosity even more. The minimum monthly fixed salary of a regional lord of a yellow gold tier regional territory is 500 yellow gold tier Mist Corps. That high? If you make outstanding political achievements, there will be a political achievement reward of at least 100 white silver tier Mist Corps and no upper limit. For every increase in the average loyalty of the subjects in the territory, they'll be rewarded with 10,000 diamond tier Mist Corps. Hiss. Is that true? Those who wantonly harm innocent civilians, regardless of their status and strength, have to be punished severely. But in a powerhouse, the lords discussed animatedly. There were also lords who hesitated and did not like the discipline matters. Zhou looked at this side calmly. He had also seen this reward and punishment system and felt that there was no problem. After consideration by other officials, they also agreed that it was very suitable for the current governance system. If they were unwilling to accept it, then don't be an official of His Blazing Sun Kingdom. He was not here to bargain with them. At Zhou's signal, Zheng Yuanqi walked in front of the lords. Can everyone accept this temporary reward and punishment system? If you're willing, you can come over and get your duties later. If you're unwilling, we'll also provide free teleportation to send you home. Raise your hands if you're unwilling right now. Zhou and Zheng Yuanqi looked at the 10,000 lords. There was silence. No one raised their hands. A smile finally appeared on Zheng Yuanqi's face. Since everyone agrees, come over in a while and receive your position transfer order. We will determine your positions and place of employment according to your ability, proximity principle, and personal will. If anyone is still unwilling, you can apply for adjustments from the corresponding department. Do you have any more questions? As soon as these words were spoken, many people in the Titans heaved a sigh of relief. This last worry immediately disappeared. At this moment, a weak voice sounded. I have a question. Zhou and the others looked over. He realized that the person who spoke was a burly man. However, what was strange was that even though this person had a strong figure, his words and actions emitted a soft and weak feeling. What's your question? Tell me. Zheng Yuanqi smiled gently. He did not discriminate against the other party because of the strangeness in his body. I heard that your lord talent will disappear if you are a lord with a lord talent who becomes a subordinate of a lord under a lord of all races. This Lord Talent won't awaken again until you leave the Lord of all races, is that true? He asked nervously. All the lords looked at Zhou Zhou as soon as these words were spoken. Yes. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. That was indeed the case. The Supreme will seem to want the lords of all races and their territories to only have the Lord Talent themselves. Once other lords with Lord Talents joined the lords of all races, their Lord Talents would be gone and would only awaken their Lord Talents again after leaving the Lord of all races. The local forces did not have this restriction. The local forces could normally rule over lords with Lord Talents. They would even take the initiative to distribute territory tokens to subjects with high potential so that the subjects could try to awaken their Lord Talents. If the lords of all races wanted to do the same thing, they could only use the master-servant territory contract to turn lords with Lord Talents into lords of their subordinate territory. Only then could they retain the Lord Talents on them. For example, this was how Linger and the Green Phoenix Lord preserved their Lord Talents. Unfortunately, as the Myriad Races Lord Battlefield event ended, there was no longer any way to exchange for a treasure like the Master-Servant Territory contract. After hearing his words, the lords hesitated again. A very small number of them had their own Lord Talents. They were naturally a little unwilling if their Lord Talent was temporarily hidden and disappeared. Those who can't bear to part with your Lord Talent, you can leave this place. We won't force you. At this moment, Zhou Zhou suddenly said. Those who are unwilling to stay in the Blazing Sun Kingdom as officials, please raise your hand. Zheng Yuanqi repeated. No one raised their hands. Even the lords with Lord Talents did not raise their hands. What to do? The King of the Blazing Sun had offered them too much. There were so many that they felt that they would not lose out even if they could not use their Lord Talent for the time being. Instead, they would make a killing. Moreover, it was only temporary, not like it would completely disappear. The lords could reluctantly accept this. A faint smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. With the Lord Talent, peace and prosperity, as long as they were subjects in his territory for a month, with their loyalty, they would basically not want to leave. Zhou Zhou stood up. Next, he'll do something to verify your loyalty. Please don't resist. Don't worry, it won't harm you. After this, we're all on the same side. He'll distribute some rewards to everyone. He said. The lords were stunned. Zhou Zhou did not explain further. He extended his right hand, which was wearing the Master Thief's robbery gloves, and pointed at these lords from afar. The next second, the chaotic origin energy in his body activated and surged into his robbery gloves. At this moment, Zhou Zhou had a feeling. As long as he wanted to, he could instantly steal anything from these 10,000 lords. This included assets, external items, talents, bloodlines, and other items that were not life-threatening. The Lord Talent crystal fragments were naturally among them. He smiled to himself. The Master Thief's robbery gloves, a special high god-tier divine artifact, could finally be used more conveniently after the chaotic origin energy in his body could drive the divine artifact. Chapter 564 Upgrading the Territory. 1. In the past, he still needed to touch the other party with his own hands to steal the other party's items. Now, he could steal them directly from afar. The efficiency of this theft had increased by more than 100 times. He stopped thinking about it. With a thought. The next second. He had used the Master Thief's robbery gloves to steal the Lord Talent crystal fragments of the 10,000 lords in front of him into his king's treasure box. He took a look and was pleasantly surprised to discover that these 16,092 lords had actually provided him with 54,730 black iron tier Lord Talent crystal fragments, 615 green bronze tier Lord Talent crystal fragments, 256 white silver tier Lord Talent crystal fragments, 154 yellow gold tier Lord Talent crystal fragments, 51 white platinum tier Lord Talent crystal fragments, and 12 diamond tier Lord Talent crystal fragments. There was not a single Lord Talent crystal fragment above the extraordinary tier. But even so, Zhou Zhou was also quite satisfied. Not to mention anything else. This Lord Talent could finally be upgraded from White Platinum tier to Diamond tier from the shelter of the Goddess of Life that Zhou Zhou had been thinking about. In a good mood, he turned to look at Zheng Yuanqi. Uncle Zheng, distribute 1,000 special soldier types, King of Yellow Gold class change certificate, to each of these lords. If you have a Lord Talent, you can distribute more class change certificates according to the grade of your Lord Talent. Consider this a reward for your own people. Zhou Zhou said. This is considered compensation for taking their Lord Talent crystal fragments. Yes, Your Majesty. Zheng Yuanqi said respectfully. The lords also heard Zhou Zhou's words. Excitement appeared on their faces. Advanced grade special grade soldiers were kingdom-level soldiers. His Majesty was actually so generous as to directly give him 1,000 special soldier type class change certificates. The lords increasingly felt that joining the Blazing Sun Kingdom was the right choice. Even the lord who was conflicted about his Lord Talent now approved of Zhou Zhou even more. After that, Zheng Yuanqi sent people to arrange the mobilization of these tens of thousands of lords. Zhou Zhou watched for a while before leaving and returning to his beginner-grade Lord's Paradise. He arrived at the entrance of the beginner-grade Lord's Paradise. Zhou Zhou did not enter. Instead, he stood at the door, preparing to upgrade his territory. The resources for his upgraded territory were already extremely sufficient after plundering the treasure vaults of the 3 beginner kingdoms today. He was only short of upgrading his territory. He willed. The next second. 4 billion units of basic materials, 1,000 white platinum tier mist cores, 5,000 origin crystals, 100,000 units of basic elemental gems, 30,000 units of high-level elemental gems, and 3 white platinum tier territory tokens disappeared. Boom! A golden light immediately covered the entire beginner-grade Lord's Paradise. The golden light dissipated. The clearly expanded beginner-grade Lord's Paradise appeared in front of Zhou Zhou. Congratulations, your beginner-grade Lord's Paradise has been upgraded to a Diamond-tier elementary-grade building and advanced to an intermediate-grade Lord's Paradise. Your White Platinum-tier advanced-grade Essence Spirit Array has been upgraded to Diamond-tier elementary grade. Your territory has been upgraded to Diamond-tier elementary grade. Territory token endurance increased to 100 million/100 million. Your territory has expanded to 10,000 km times 10,000 km times 20,000 m. All fog monsters within the territory of the new territory have been expelled. Scarlet fog will not appear in any of your territories. You have received an upgrade reward, Basic Building Blueprint Treasure Chest, Diamond Tier Elementary Grade. Lord Talent Notification. The upper limit of the enemy lord's power that you can instigate by insight defection has been increased to Legendary Tier Advanced Grade. Lord Talent Hint, your monster ranches can be upgraded. Lord Talent Hint, your mysterious caravan faction has increased. Lord Talent Hint, the strength of the clergy in your Goddess of Lives shelter has increased. The next second. Zhou Zhou's expectant notification sounded. Cerulean Planet World Channel Lord Announcement, congratulations to the Lord of the Blazing Sun, becoming the first Lord to upgrade his territory to Diamond Tier. Reward, Supreme Treasure Chest +1, Reputation Rating +1, Unique Title of the Race, Glory of the Pioneer 4 has advanced to Glory of the Pioneer V. Cerulean Planet World Channel Announcement, congratulations to the Lord of the Blazing Sun, Cerulean Planet World Channel Announcement. Congratulations to the Lord of the Blazing Sun, a smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. He had finally obtained this title. Moreover, his territory had finally advanced from a beginner Lord's Paradise to an intermediate-grade Lord's Paradise. Zhou Zhou opened the World Channel in a good mood, wanting to see the reaction of the Lord of the Cerulean Planet. In the end, he was stunned to realize that even though the lords of the cerulean planet were all discussing the upgrade of his territory to Diamond Tier, they did not show much surprise. It was as if it was natural for him to do this. Some lords even said that they would only be shocked, and there was another announcement on the entire channel by the lords of all races. Zhou could not help but be speechless. These guys' appetites had even been spoiled by him. He didn't even care about normal announcements, but he cared about the announcements of all races, right? He shook his head and looked at the title effect he had just obtained. Title name, Glory of the Pioneer V, title quality, unique title of the race, title effect 1, you are famous among the lords of the cerulean planet. More people admire your reputation and yearn to join your territory. The number of subjects you can summon through the gate of summoning every day plus 500%. Among the subjects summoned, there will be a talent of the same level as the territory plus 6. Title effect 2, your unique title suffix will be added behind your lord title when you speak in any channel. You can take the initiative to turn it off or activate it. Title effect 3, when you become the first cerulean planet lord to have an extraordinary tier elementary grade territory, this title will be upgraded to Glory of the Pioneer 6 and unlock more title effects. Title description, the Supreme Will is the exclusive title given to the pioneer among the lords. Every pioneer of every race has a higher chance of achieving extraordinary achievements. Zhou nodded in satisfaction. The number of basic subjects that would appear in his gate of summoning would double again tomorrow. Most importantly, the number of professional talents summoned at the same level as the territory would also increase to 6. Starting tomorrow, I will summon at least 6 Diamond Tier elementary grade talents every day. Zhou's lips curled up slightly. 6 Diamond Tier elementary grade talents. It was already comparable to 6 talents with reputation rating. Not bad, not bad. Then, he opened the Supreme Treasure chest and realized that there was actually 1 Diamond Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragment in it. I obtained this. Zhou was a little surprised. However, he really needed Diamond Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments, so he put them away. Then, Zhou looked at the requirements for the next level. Construction upgrade, 10 billion units of wood, 10 billion units of fine sand, 10 billion units of metal, 10 billion units of stone, 1,000 Diamond Tier Mist Core, 10,000 Origin Crystals, 500,000 units of Basic Elemental Gems, 100,000 units of Thunder Elemental Gems, 100,000 units of Life Elemental Gems, 100,000 units of Death Elemental Gems, 1 Diamond Tier City, 10 Diamond Tier Lifestyle Professionals, 100 Diamond Tier Military Professionals, 3 Diamond Tier Territory Tokens. There are enough resources. I can continue to upgrade my territory. The smile on Zhou's face deepened. Chapter 565 Diamond Tier Lord Talent, the Shelter of the Goddess of Life. The advanced elemental gems he took out from the 3 kingdoms today were not in vain. It could actually allow him to upgrade his territory twice in a row. He wasted no time. Zhou chose to level up. Congratulations, your beginner grade Lord's Paradise has successfully been upgraded to a white platinum tier intermediate grade building. Your white platinum tier advanced grade Essence Spirit Array has been upgraded to diamond tier intermediate grade. Your territory has been upgraded to diamond tier elementary grade. Territory token endurance increased to 500 million/500 million. Your territory has expanded to 20,000 km times 20,000 km times 20,000 m. All fog monsters within the territory of the new territory have been expelled. Scarlet fog will not appear in any of your territories. You have received an upgrade reward, Basic Building Blueprint Treasure Chest, Diamond Tier Intermediate Grade. Lord Talent Notification. The upper limit of the enemy lord's power that you can induce insight defection has been increased to low-tier deity elementary grade. Lord Talent Hint, your monster ranches can be upgraded. Lord Talent Hint, your mysterious caravan faction has increased. Lord Talent hint, the strength of the clergy in your Goddess of Lives shelter has increased. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly and could not wait to see its upgrade conditions. Construction upgrade, 50 billion units of wood, 50 billion units of fine sand, 50 billion units of metal, 50 billion units of stone, 50,000 diamond tier mist core, 50,000 origin crystals, 1 million units of basic elemental gems, 300,000 units of thunder elemental gems, 300,000 units of life elemental gems, 300,000 units of death elemental gems, 2 diamond tier cities, 50 diamond tier lifestyle professionals, 500 diamond tier military professionals, 10 diamond tier territory tokens. I've satisfied all the other upgrade conditions. I only have 300,000 units of life elemental gems and 300,000 units of death elemental gems. I don't have enough. I'll instruct Qing Yuanxi tomorrow to speed up the development of the gem resources in Titan State. Zhou Zhou thought. They did not expect. However, even though he could not continue to upgrade his territory, he was already quite satisfied after upgrading his territory by 2 levels in a row. He walked into the intermediate grade Lord's Paradise and realized that the building facilities and interior decoration inside were much better than before. While it occupied a larger area, the building functions were also more complete than before. The more Zhou Zhou looked at it, the more satisfied he became. Then, he walked out of the intermediate grade Lord's Paradise and came to the Gate of Summoning. He spent resources to upgrade the Gate of Summoning to Diamond Tier Intermediate Grade. Congratulations, your Gate of Summoning has been upgraded to a Diamond Tier Intermediate Grade building. You can summon plus 200 subjects every day. You will definitely summon 200 professionals every day among the subjects. Prompt, under the influence of the unique title of the race, Glory of the Pioneer V, you can summon 4,000 subjects a day. You will definitely summon 206 professionals every day among the subjects. And the professional levels of 6 of the professionals will be the same as your territory level. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. After the Gate of Summoning was upgraded to Diamond Tier Intermediate Grade, the number of basic summoning subjects had reached a total of 800. After being enhanced by the Glory of the Pioneer V, it directly doubled to 4,000 people. A total of 4,000 people. Fortunately, I can summon the promised people through the Gate of Summoning all at once now. Otherwise, it would take a while to see them walk out of the Gate of Summoning. Zhou Zhou lamented. He was very satisfied with this upgrade. Then, he looked at the requirements for the next level of the Gate of Summoning. Construction upgrade, 200 million units of wood, 200 million units of fine sand, 200 million units of metal, 200 million units of stone, 1,000 diamond tier mist core, territory level upgraded to diamond tier elementary grade. Zhou Zhou shook his head. The upgrade conditions of the Gate of Summoning really looked like a gift for upgrading the territory. It was not difficult at all. He did not stay here. He left the Gate of Summoning and returned to his intermediate grade Lord's Paradise again. Then, he went all the way to his study. The upgraded study was simply like a small library, filled with all kinds of books. It included astronomy, geography, daily life, information about the races of the myriad worlds, skill books of various life professions, and even novels written by the dragon race. Zhou Zhou walked around for a while before returning to his desk. He took out 10 Diamond Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments and prepared to upgrade the shelter of the Goddess of Life. He first fused 10 Diamond Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments into a Diamond Tier Lord Talent Origin Divine Crystal. Then, he summoned the Lord Talent panel and began to upgrade. A text notification appeared. As you have 2 white Platinum Tier Lord Talents, the shelter of the Goddess of Life and Dragon Slaying Hometown, please choose one to advance. I choose to advance the shelter of the Goddess of Life. Zhou Zhou said. The Dragon Slaying Hometown was not bad, but he needed the shelter of the Goddess of Life more now. Lord Talent has been chosen. Upgrading in progress, the next second. He felt a familiar warm feeling between his eyebrows. A moment later, the warmth faded. A new text notification appeared. Lord Talent upgrade successful. Congratulations, your white platinum tier Lord Talent, the shelter of the goddess of life, has been upgraded to diamond tier Lord Talent, the shelter of the goddess of life. You have leveled up to diamond tier Lord Talent effect, Lord Talent, the shelter of the goddess of life, diamond tier, the shelter of the goddess of life. Your territory will have a special building, the shelter of the goddess of life. This talent information hasn't changed, but the level of his talent has changed. Zhou Zhou raised his eyebrows. It seemed that he had to go take a look on the ground. He stood up and walked towards the shelter of the goddess of life without hesitation. The shelter of the goddess of life. Zhou Zhou stood there and looked at the huge building in front of him in surprise. It was different from the sand buildings made of grey sand and gravel. The upgraded shelter of the goddess of life was more than 30 meters tall and was made of silver bricks. Moreover, there were many green plants that emitted vigorous vitality growing at the edge of the building wall. Cute animals were also moving freely inside, as if they were not worried that the people in the building would hurt them at all. At this moment, its architectural style could be described as solemn and natural. Other than that, directly in front of the shelter a statue of the goddess of life stood here. She had a beautiful face and was wearing emerald green clothes. A pair of emerald green eyes looked ahead with a smile on her lips, as if she was looking at something. Chapter 566 Enhancement of the Lord Talent. Original Spirit Race Bloodline Commodity. My good lord, it's a huge change. Zhou Zhou was surprised. He had been here dozens of times and was extremely familiar with this place. The shelter of the goddess of life in front of him was 100 times better than before. The previous place was simply like a dilapidated shelter. It clearly had the aura of a god spirit's territory now. He focused on the building. Soon, the building information appeared. Building name, the shelter of the goddess of life. Building level, special grade, building function 1, Archbishop Carol Moali of the shelter and her clergymen, priests, nuns, and other clergymen can each provide the lord and subject of the territory with basic protection services 3 times a day for free. However, if you need more protection in the future, you will need to spend mist cores or faith divine crystals to buy them. Currently providing shelter types, basic shelter service, life holy water, 1 green bronze tier mist core, basic shelter service, life healing technique, 2 green bronze tier mist cores, basic shelter service, appeasement, 2 green bronze tier mist cores, basic shelter service, mental communication, 2 green bronze tier mist cores, advanced protection, hire a life priest, 1 faith divine crystals per day, advanced protection, hire a life paladin, 3 faith divine crystals per day. Advanced protection, divine art, soul restoration, 1 faith divine crystal, advanced protection, divine art, limb restoration, 5 faith divine crystals, advanced protection, divine art, holy protection, 5 faith divine crystals, advanced protection, divine art small resurrection, 5 faith divine crystals, advanced protection, divine art, great resurrection, 1 faith divine crystals, building function 2. When the Lord and his forces go out to hunt fog monsters, they will encounter fog monsters with a small chance of dropping scarlet crystals. After handing the scarlet crystals to the shelter of the goddess of life, they can be converted into faith divine crystals and exchanged for the protection they want. Construction upgrade, this building originates from the Lord Talent and cannot be upgraded. Prompt 1, the above level of the shelter service will increase as the territory level increases. Prompt 2, building effect 2 is the exclusive building effect of this special building. The shelter of the goddess of life doesn't have this ability. Building description, the goddess of life saw that all life forms in the world were suffering from war, so she built the shelter of the goddess of life everywhere in the high continent to reduce the death of life forms. All life forms who enter the shelter of the goddess of life are protected by the goddess of life. Zhou Zhou looked at the information about the shelter of the goddess of life and was pleasantly surprised. Firstly, Carol Moella's clergy position had changed from cardinal to archbishop. According to what Zhou Zhou knew from her, the clergy under the Goddess of Life had a total of 9 levels. From bottom to top, they were cardinal, first cardinal, archbishop, metropolitan cardinal, sect master, cardinal, pope, God servant, and elven. Carol Moelle was only a cardinal in the past and was an ordinary supervisor, but she had actually advanced by 2 levels and become an archbishop. Moreover, the big city here referred to the myriad worlds in the eyes of the god spirits. To the high continent, the level of a big city was almost equivalent to an ordinary kingdom. Her status could be said to have increased greatly compared to before. However, this was not what surprised Zhou Zhou. Instead, its building effect had been greatly strengthened. The first was that the number of free basic shelter service each clergyman provided to the lords and subjects had increased from 1 to 3 times a day. The second point was, among the many shelter services provided by the shelter. Other than the price of the Great Resurrection spell remaining unchanged, the price of other protection services had been reduced by half. Moreover, its basic protection services could be paid for with mist cores now, and the amount of mist cores needed was very small. What was the difference between this and giving it to the rich and imposing Zhou Zhou for free? I wonder how many clergy there are in the shelter now. Zhou Zhou thought expectantly. At this moment it was as if it had heard what he was thinking. The door of the shelter slowly opened. Then, Carol Moelle, who was wearing the clothes of an archbishop with a red background and silver trim, walked out of the shelter with 7 clergymen in the clothes of low-level cardinals. Archbishop Carol Moelle greets Your Majesty. First Cardinal, Juliet Staley/Kelly Yusen, greets Your Majesty. Cardinal Sam Emmy/Coverdale Anastasia/Yao-Chin Malachite Rossetti June greets Your Majesty. The 8 of them came in front of Zhou Zhou and bowed respectfully. They're all your subordinates. Zhou Zhou looked at Carol Moelle in surprise. It was Her Excellency, the Goddess of Life, who sent the 7 of them to me to help me share the matters in the shelter. They all have outstanding aptitudes and have mastered the Great Resurrection spell. In the future, if Your Majesty needs to revive many people, I can revive them all in a short period of time even if I'm exhausted and can't carry it out. This way, I won't delay Your Majesty's matters. Carol Moelle smiled. Zhou Zhou was even more satisfied. Just as Carol Moelle mentioned, he did not have to worry about her being overwhelmed by the workload anymore. Chapter 567 Enhancement of the Lord Talent. Original Spirit Race Bloodline Commodity. 2, however, he did not forget to ask the most important thing. How many clergymen are in the shelter now? How strong are they? Zhou Zhou asked. The shelter of the Goddess of Life also increased to the Diamond Tier Intermediate grade after our territory was upgraded to the Diamond Tier Intermediate grade. At that time, there were already 20,000 clergymen, 20,000 priests, 20,000 nuns, and 200,000 life paladins in our shelter. In addition, the strength of all the clergy has also increased to Diamond Tier. And my strength has also increased from Extraordinary Tier Elementary grade to Epic Tier Intermediate grade. Since Your Majesty upgraded our shelter, the number of clergymen in our shelter has increased by 10 times. Currently, there are 200,000 clergymen, 200,000 priests, 200,000 nuns, and 2 million life paladins in our shelter. And my strength has also jumped to the Legendary Tier Elementary grade. Carol Moelle replied. Okay. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. There were a total of 2.6 million clergymen and 7 new cardinals. Even though he had to pay mist cores or faith divine crystals to drive them, however, Zhou Zhou really did not lack this thing. In addition, Carol Moella's strength had increased to the Legendary Tier Elementary grade. Even though she was limited by her talent and could not participate in the battle, she could only provide services such as the Great Resurrection spell. However, the ability to revive legendary tier elementary grade life forms was enough to become an important bargaining chip in his hands. The upgrade of his Lord talent this time did not disappoint him. After that, he chatted with Carol Moali for a while more before walking to the Monster Ranch. Then, he asked Mugu about the upgrade of the Monster Ranch. Firstly, Mugu's strength had also increased to the Diamond Tier Intermediate grade, becoming the Diamond Tier Intermediate grade Monster Rancher and Monster Patriarch. And now, the number of Monster Ranches under Mugu had increased from 36 to 50 today. With the enhancement of the King of Loots, from now on, Zhou could obtain a large number of extraordinary tier resources every day with just these 50 Monster Ranches. As for the 14 new Monster Ranches, Zhou thought for a moment and decided to let 4 of them nurture special soldier types, King of Yellow Gold. The other 10 Monster Ranches would be used to nurture the Kingdom-level combat class, Violent Storm Spirit. Actually, he also had the idea of using it to nurture the Violent Storm Spirit. The Violent Storm Spirit was a Kingdom-level combat class after all, 1 level stronger than the King of Yellow Gold. However, this was like a team fight in a game. No matter how fierce the mage's damage output was at the back, if there was no meat shield in front, the mage would still be attacked by the assassin and be killed. And the King of Yellow Gold, this special soldier type, was the most suitable meat shield in the current situation. At the beginning of the war, the Violent Storm Spirit could attack from the back without worry with the King of Yellow Gold in front. After that, Zhou left the Monster Ranch and went to Zhengfuguo's place to ask about the upgrade of the Mysterious Caravan. The number of Mysterious Merchant alone had increased from 1,500 to 3,000 and the number of carriages transporting goods had also increased to 3,000. At the same time, the strength of all the Mysterious Merchant had increased to Diamond Tier Intermediate grade. The internal space of each Mysterious Merchant's Mysterious Ring had also increased from 80,000 cubic meters to 500,000 cubic meters. After checking the upgrade of all the Lord talents, Zhou walked towards the intermediate grade Lord's Paradise. When he was halfway there, he suddenly felt something move between his eyebrows. With a thought, a silver light flew out of his glabella and landed on the ground, turning into the Ultimate Lord, Zhou. It's getting late. I'm going to the mechanical kingdom of the Lord of the Divine Arms. The Ultimate Lord, Zhou said. Be careful. Zhou did not stop him. The Ultimate Lord, Zhou nodded and flew in the direction of the Starry Night. He wanted to bring a Starry Night that represented his friendship with the Machina race to the Machina kingdom. This would be convenient. Zhou watched him leave. He was actually not too worried. He could condense it again if it died anyway. The words, "be careful," were just a slip of the tongue. In the bedroom of the intermediate grade Lord's Paradise. I want rest with you today as I have something to do. I shouldn't be back tonight. Zhou said to Leah. Leah was stunned. Then, she smiled gently and smoothed out the casual clothes on his chest. Go on. Business is more important. She said. Amicham. Zhou left. In front of the Lord's shop. What games are you playing tonight? Zhou asked Zhou Qingmin excitedly. Zhou Qingmin was stunned for a moment before he reacted and chuckled. Your Majesty, come, sit. Zhou Ying took out a small stool and pointed at it. Zhou walked into the Lord's shop and sat beside Zhou Qingmin without hesitation. Let's fight the Ziggs first. Then, we can play with the Spirit Dolua and the Twin Dragons. Zhou Qingmin excitedly took out a pile of game discs and began to choose. Zhou said nothing. He was here to play with him today. He could do whatever he wanted. Chapter 568 Enhancement of the Lord Talent. Original Spirit Race Bloodline Commodity. 3. Fuck, why did you blow me up? Eat. I'll eat this bomb. You're about to die. Lend me your life. How embarrassing. Can you lend your life to me at once? Don't look at me like that. I'll spare your life. Your Majesty. Be a human. The next morning, Zhou put down the controller and stood up to stretch. I haven't played so happily in a long time. Zhou Qingmin also had a comfortable expression. What are you selling today? Zhou asked directly. Aren't you going to reminisce about last night? You seem to be having fun. Why don't we continue tonight? Zhou Qingmin said reluctantly. Let me see the goods first. Zhou said. Who would be willing to play games with a fat otaku all night if not for the goods in the Lord's shop? However, he did have a good time yesterday. It had been a long time since he felt so relaxed. Zhou Qingmin pursed his lips when he saw this. He went to the counter and took out the 3 golden boxes. Then, he opened them one by one. The first box contained a transparent heart. There was a faint vast power of laws circulating around it, as if it was nurturing a small world. There was a card in the second box and a skill book in the third box. Zhou's gaze immediately landed on the first item. His eyes widened slightly. At this moment, a text notification appeared. Bloodline name, Original Spirit Race Bloodline, Bloodline Level, True God Tier Advanced Grade, Bloodline Effect. After absorbing it, the user can obtain the bloodline of the original spirit race. After fusing with this bloodline, the user will gradually awaken the bloodline ability of the original spirit race during their growth. It really is the bloodline of the original spirit race. This should be provided by Ansel's original spirit race. Zhou was pleasantly surprised. Ansel was the only member of the original spirit race in his territory, so he was naturally the goods provided by him. However, he never expected old Zhou to really keep his word. Awesome goods would appear in the Lord's shop after playing games with him for an entire night. Moreover, it was the goods he wanted the most. Old Zhou. I'll play games with you again tonight. Zhou immediately looked up and said to Zhou Qingmin, who was packing up the game console. Are we that close? Zhou Qingmin was stunned for a moment before laughing. Zhou nodded and looked at another product. In the end, he realized that it was a designated subject commodity card. After using it, he could specify an ability, talent, bloodline, equipment, and other things owned by the subject to appear in the Lord's shop the next day. Zhou naturally remembered this. After he obtained this card previously, he used it to obtain Xiao Xian's danger prediction talent. During this period of time, he felt that it was quite useful. Not bad, not bad. Zhou laughed. He was also quite satisfied with the second item. Then, he looked at the third item and realized that it was also a duplicate. It was the Ghost God General, Luo Xing's hero, Ghost God Military Morale. This thing is not bad either. Zhou nodded. Now that there were more and more soldiers in his territory, the requirements for the generals who led the soldiers were getting higher and higher. With the skill book, Hero Skill, Ghost God Military Morale, he could quickly create a general who could easily command an army. How much are these 3 goods worth? Zhou asked. Chapter 569 Absorbing the Original Spirit Race Bloodline. Epic Tier Advanced Grade Chaos Human Bloodline. 1. The original Spirit Race Bloodline is worth 10,000 Legendary Tier Mist Cores and 10,000 Legendary Tier Territory Tokens. The designated subject commodity card will still be at the same price. 10 Legendary Tier Mist Cores and 1 Legendary Tier Territory Token will do. Hero Skill, Ghost God Military Morale is the same. 50 Epic Tier Mist Cores and 5 Epic Tier Territory Tokens. Old Zhou said leisurely. What the hell is this? Zhou exclaimed, his voice almost distorting. 10,000 Legendary Tier Mist Cores and 10,000 Legendary Tier Territory Tokens. That was 20,000 Legendary Tier Mist Cores. It was not that he could not afford this amount of mist cores. He had obtained more than 36,000 legendary tier mist cores yesterday after all. However, no matter how rich he was, he could not spend it like this. He had never bought such an expensive thing. This is really not expensive. The bloodline of this original spirit race is one of the top bloodlines in the endless heavens. Its grade has even reached the true God tier advanced grade. Logically speaking, it should require 100 true God tier divine crystals to buy. I only asked for 10,000 legendary tier mist cores and 10,000 legendary tier territory tokens because I don't think His Majesty can obtain true God tier divine crystals at this time. Your Majesty, don't be too greedy. When Zhou Qingmin heard Zhou Zhou's words, he shook his head and said. Zhou Zhou was speechless. He actually said that I'm too greedy. However, according to the true value of the original spirit race, it was indeed worth this price. It was even very likely to far exceed this price. He was indeed in an advantageous position. Thinking of this, Zhou Zhou looked at the mist core reserves in his heavenly mist treasure bag. After converting them into legendary tier mist cores, he now had a total of 44,647 legendary tier mist cores. I'm going to bleed out, Zhou Zhou thought with a pained heart. However, even though it was very expensive, as the top bloodline in the myriad worlds, the bloodline of the original spirit race would definitely allow his chaos human bloodline to increase greatly. Therefore, he had to buy it. He was about to take out the mist cores. Suddenly, a light flashed in his heart. Then, he hurriedly began to search in his king's treasure box. Soon, he found a golden card. Card name, Beginner Shop Discount Card, Card Level, Special, Card Effect, the Lord has this card. When shopping in the Lord's shop, you can buy the designated goods at a 30% reduction in price. Card description, an exclusive card from the Lord's shop. It can be used to lower the price for shopping. I almost forgot about this, a smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. This card was a good that had been farmed from the Lord's shop previously. After Zhou Zhou bought it, it had been useless. The true God tier advanced grade original spirit race bloodline in front of him would probably only appear a few times in the Lord's shop in the future. Since that was the case, he would use this beginner shop discount card on it. At the thought of this, Zhou Zhou handed the beginner shop discount card to Zhou Qingmin and said, I want all three of them. However, I want to use the beginner shop discount card on this original spirit race bloodline. Sure. Zhou Qingmin took it. Then Your Majesty only needs 7,000 legendary tier mist cores and 7,000 legendary tier territory tokens to buy it. Zhou Zhou smiled and nodded. A beginner shop discount card directly saved him 6,000 legendary tier mist cores. This deal was too profitable. He took out 14,011 legendary tier mist cores and 55 epic tier mist cores and handed them to Zhou Qingmin. After bidding him farewell, he took these three goods and prepared to return to the intermediate grade Lord's Paradise. However, as soon as he left the Lord's shop, he happened to encounter Liya and her maid, Yu Qiao, who walked out of the Lord's Paradise. Their eyes met. Your Majesty, have you been staying here last night? Liya asked doubtfully. The two of them called each other by their real names in private. However, Liya would naturally still call Zhou Zhou His Majesty in public. Zhou Zhou was about to speak when he saw Zhou Chengmin's greasy middle-aged man's face stick out of the room and chuckle. That's right. His Majesty played games with me all night last night. Oh yes, we agreed to play games together tonight again. There's a high chance that we'll stay up all night. Zhou Zhou, Liya was speechless. Your Majesty. So what you said you were going to do last night was to play games, Liya came to a realization. No, it's not like that. Let me explain, Zhou Zhou hurriedly explained. What a joke. Am I the kind of person who delays official business because of the games? You don't have to explain. Liya walked over and smiled. I've always felt that your Majesty's life is too tense and that your Majesty almost doesn't have a hobby to relax with other than developing your territory. I'm also very happy to see your Majesty have another hobby outside of developing your territory. Then I'll take my leave first. I won't come over tonight. I wish your Majesty a good time. Li Ye and Yu Qiao left. Before Yu Qiao left, she looked at Zhou Zhou in surprise, as if she could not believe that this man who had conquered 4 beginner kingdoms would accompany a middle-aged greasy uncle instead of his wife just to play games. You definitely did it on purpose, right? After the 2 women left, Zhou Zhou looked at Zhou Qingmin resentfully. Absolutely not. Chapter 570 Absorbing the Original Spirit Race Bloodline. Epic Tier Advanced Grade Chaos Human Bloodline. 2. Zhou Qingmin immediately denied it. Then, he said seriously, Your Majesty's wife is indeed a virtuous empress. Your Majesty, you have to cherish her. Of course. Zhou Zhou nodded. No matter how slow he was, he knew that Li Ye was a good girl worth cherishing. Moreover, from her past deeds of working for the Aurora Kingdom, this girl was also qualified to be the mother of a country. Zhou Zhou had long treated her as his real wife, that was also why he directly called Li Yuangan his father-in-law. The 2 of them did not talk much. After Zhou Zhou returned to the intermediate grade Lord's Paradise, he immediately used the bloodline of the original spirit race. Soon, he felt his heart heat up, as if it was starting to nurture something. At the same time, a text notification appeared in front of Zhou Zhou. You have absorbed 1 portion of the original spirit race, True God Tier Advanced Grade. Your Chaos Human Bloodline has unearthed more potential and advanced to the Epic Tier Advanced Grade Bloodline. Your 6 senses powers have been greatly enhanced. You have awakened the Extraordinary Tier Advanced Grade, Enhanceable Chaos Human Race Talent. The original Elementary Chaos Heart has advanced to the Intermediate Grade Chaos Core. You have awakened the Epic Tier Advanced Grade, Enhanceable Chaos Human Race Talent. The original Intermediate Grade Chaos Core has been upgraded to a high-level Chaos Core. You have awakened the True God Tier Advanced Grade Original Spirit Race Talent, World Lord. You have awakened the True God Tier Advanced Grade Original Spirit Race Talent, Original Spirit. You have awakened the True God Tier Advanced Grade Original Spirit Race Talent, World Fisher. You have awakened the True God Tier Advanced Grade Original Spirit Race Talent, God of Thunder. You have awakened the True God Tier Advanced Grade Original Spirit Race Talent, God of Dark Clouds. You have awakened the True God Tier Advanced Grade Original Spirit Race Talent, Divine Power Control. You have grasped the original spirit race's common sense inheritance. You have grasped the secret inheritance of the original spirit race. Your talent, Thunder Immunity, has been greatly enhanced. You have mastered the True God Tier Advanced Grade Law Skill, Thunder God Spear. You have mastered the True God Tier Advanced Grade Law Skill, Thunder God Body. Zhou Zhou was pleasantly surprised when he saw the notification. The original spirit race did not disappoint him. It actually caused his extraordinary tier intermediate grade chaos human bloodline to increase by more than a major level and directly jump to the epic tier advanced grade. He immediately looked at the awakened abilities. Race talent name, Advanced Grade Chaos Core, Talent Level, Epic Tier Advanced Grade, Enhanceable, Talent Description, your comprehension, thinking ability, and law affinity are already close to the limit of life forms. You can easily comprehend professional abilities or even law abilities in various fields. You can even comprehend a brand new law ability from nothing. Zhou Zhou could not help but raise his eyebrows when he saw this innate ability. So strong. Previously, the elementary Chaos Heart only said that his comprehension and thinking reaction ability had been greatly enhanced. Now, it had already told him that it was close to the limit of a life form. The subsequent description was even more shocking. His current comprehension could actually comprehend a brand new law ability from nothing. Which meant Even if he did not rely on the divine spark fragment to comprehend law skills, he could still comprehend an exclusive law skill of his own through seclusion. The prerequisite to becoming a God spirit is to comprehend your own law. The value of this high-level chaos core is probably not inferior to the book of the God Spirit I gave Suan previously. It might even exceed it. Zhou thought. That was a shocking find. Previously, he was still a little confused about how to walk on his future path as a God spirit. Now that he has this race talent, he should be able to help him a lot on the path to becoming a God spirit in the future. Then, he looked at the racial talent of the next original spirit race. Race talent name, World Lord, talent level, True God tier advanced grade, talent description, the bloodline of the original spirit race flows in your body. This top bloodline of the myriad worlds allows your heart to nurture a small world, and you are the World Lord of this small world. In this small world, your status is comparable to the creation God Spirit and the ancestor of the great Tao. You can easily do things that you can't do in the real world in this small world. Moreover, as your main Bodhi's strength increases, your small world will also expand and your ability will become stronger. After you break through to the low-tier deity level, this small world can break free from the restraints of your body and enter the myriad worlds, becoming a small world that can survive independently. It's finally here, the most basic talent of the original spirit race. Zhou's eyes lit up when he saw this Lord talent. He immediately looked into his heart. Previously, he felt his heart heat up slightly, as if something had changed when he absorbed this bloodline. The changes in his heart had gradually calmed down. The modification should have been completed. Zhou looked at it. In the end, he was surprised to discover that his heart had actually become a transparent heart. There were faint patterns of mysterious laws circulating around his heart. It was exactly the same as the bloodline of the original spirit race he had seen previously. However, there was one difference. Surrounding his transparent heart were wisps of chaos chi which fused into his heart from time to time, gradually dyeing his transparent heart with a faint chaotic color. Chapter 571 Absorbing the Original Spirit Race Bloodline. Epic Tier Advanced Grade Chaos Human Bloodline. 3. According to the notification, my Chaos Human Bloodline should be optimizing the modified heart of this original spirit race bloodline. I wonder what will happen to my bloodline after the optimization ends. Zhou took a guess when he saw this. His Chaos Human Bloodline had the ability to optimize and increase his bloodline. He did not expect that even a top-notch bloodline like the original spirit race could be optimized and upgraded. He did not think too much about it and looked at the next race talent. Race talent name, Original Spirit, talent level, True God tier advanced grade, talent description, the original spirit race's existence is loved by the Supreme Will as the first batch of life forms of the race when the myriad worlds were born. It is easier for them to feel the laws that are everywhere in the world, thereby promoting their growth. After the original spirit race dies, their small world will enter the myriad worlds and become one of the endless worlds. Note, this race talent is being optimized by the Chaos Human Bloodline. So the original spirit race is actually so powerful. It's actually the first batch of life forms of the race at the beginning of the myriad worlds. Moreover, after they die, their small world will actually enter the myriad worlds and become a part of them. Could it be that a portion or even all of the worlds in the myriad worlds were transformed from the fallen original spirit race? Zhou clicked his tongue in thought after reading this Lord talent. In addition, this race talent was actually also being optimized by the Chaos Human Bloodline. He wondered what it would be like after optimization. He did not think too much about it and continued to look at the next race talent. Race talent name, World Fisher, talent level, True God tier advanced grade, Zhou nodded. This was equivalent to opening a spatial door to the real world for the inner world. It was almost useless in battle, but it was very convenient to store items and hide life forms. According to the original spirit race inheritance he had grasped, when the original spirit race grew to the God-spirit stage, they could even enter their own small world and completely disappear from the real world. At that time, it would be impossible for the enemies of the original spirit race to find them even if they wanted to. Unless the enemies tore through space and entered the interlayer of space to wander around, searching for a world that belonged to the original spirit race in the myriad worlds. Otherwise, it would be almost impossible to find the original spirit race's main world. This would be a fantasy land that belonged to him, and his main body would slip away as soon as the world fissure opened. All the calamities in the real world would no longer befall him. It could be said that its life-saving ability was extremely strong. Then, he looked at the next race talent. Race talent name, God of Thunder, talent level, True God Tier Advanced Grade, talent description, you are a natural God of Thunder in the small world in your body. You have an incomparable Thunder Law talent and can easily comprehend Thunder-type skills or even Law skills. As long as you continue to grow successfully, not only will you become a world ancestral God in the future, you will even become a true God Tier Advanced Grade Thunder Law God Spirit. Race talent name, God of Dark Clouds, talent level, True God Tier Advanced Grade, talent description, you are a natural God of Dark Clouds in the small world in your body. You have unparalleled talent in the Dark Cloud Elemental Law. You can easily comprehend Dark Cloud Elemental skills or even Law skills. As long as you continue to grow successfully, not only will you become a world ancestral God in the future, you will even become a true God Tier Advanced Grade Dark Cloud Elemental God Spirit. Chapter 572 Millions of Refugees. 1. What an enviable talent. Zhou looked at the talents of these two races and sighed. A God Spirit. An unattainable existence to most life forms in the myriad worlds. Countless extraordinary tier life forms had spent a long time trying to become God spirits but to no avail. On the other hand, the original spirit race could naturally become God spirits and even have an additional small world of their own compared to the God spirits. Compared to normal God spirits, a God spirit with a small world was equivalent to a dead loyal citizen who was born with an entire world. He was the world ancestral God of this world. The original spirit race would not have to worry at all if they took the path of faith becoming a god. Unlike normal God spirits, who needed to establish sects and spread their faith, this bloodline was born to become a god. How could the book of the God Spirit compare to it? Comparing the two, the former was like an ancient scholar. If he wanted to become an official, he had to study hard for 10 years and familiarize himself with the 4 books and 5 classics. Then, he had to rush to the capital for the examination and take the 1 in a million chance to become a small official. The latter was like a noble. He had already been arranged to be an official from the moment he was born. After becoming an official, he would have all kinds of connections and resources to support him, and he could advance all the way. There was really nothing to say about the Supreme Will's love for the original spirit race. But it belongs to me now. From now on. I'm also a chaos human wearing the skin of the original spirit race, The corners of Zhou's mouth curled up slightly. Then, he looked at the next talent. Race talent name, Divine Power Control, talent level, True God Tier Advanced Grade, talent description, as a natural world ancestral god, your control of divine power has reached an unbelievable level. You can easily use divine power to do things that other god spirits can't. Zhou did not understand this. However, according to the description of the original spirit race inheritance seed he had grasped, this talent would be very useful after becoming a god. It was said that it could even be used to create life. This was still too far away for Zhou. He did not think too much about it and looked at the next one. There was no need to mention the original spirit race's common sense inheritance and the original spirit race's secret inheritance. It was an enhancement of knowledge, horizons, and knowledge. It was not of much use to increase his strength for the time being. Next was the thunder immunity that Zhou had long obtained. This time, he had obtained the bloodline of the original spirit race, directly strengthening this talent. Race talent name, Thunder immunity, talent level, True God tier advanced grade, talent description, when lightning elemental attacks below the mid-level deity tier land on you, you will not suffer any damage. Zhou Zhou was satisfied. He remembered that originally, this talent could only be immune to lightning elemental attacks below the low-tier deity level. Now, the upper limit of immunity to damage has been increased to the level of a mid-level deity tier. Sure, it was also a very strong improvement. Then, he looked at the two law skills that had been awakened. Law skill name, Thunder God Spear, Law skill quality, True God tier advanced grade, Law skill power description, control the power of the Thunder Law and condense an extremely lethal Thunder God Spear. The Thunder God Spear has an extremely high offensive and destructive ability, especially against chaotic unholy elementals such as death, shadow rays, and corrosion. It also has an additional damage bonus to fog monsters. Law skill name, Thunder God Body, Law skill quality, True God tier advanced grade, Law skill power description, your body is filled with the divine power of the Thunder Law. You have the ability to resist all evil. Attacks low-level deity and below will not be able to hurt your body. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. There were only two words in his mind. How powerful! The Thunder God Spear was similar to the Holy Light Sword, a law skill. They both had extremely high attack abilities. Moreover, they had an extremely high restraining and damage enhancement effect on existences like Chaos Unholy. However, it was clearly different from the Holy Light Sword. The attack characteristic of the Holy Light Sword was biased towards purification and incineration. The Thunder Divine Spear pursued extreme destruction and elimination. Comparing the two, the Thunder God Spear was even more violent. Moreover, there was almost no one in the world who could restrain the Thunder Law. This was almost an invincible offensive method. In a battle of the same level, he was almost invincible. Only the suppression of a large realm could suppress the power of this Thunder God Spear. As for the Thunder God Body, there was no need to mention it. Evil immunity sounded very powerful. In the future, Zhou Zhou would not be afraid of negative buffs such as curses. As for the later description of being immune to attacks below the low-tier deity, it surprised Zhou Zhou even more. This was a top-grade life-saving ability. In the future, he basically did not have to worry about getting injured or even dying when facing existences below the God Spirit realm. Fortunately, I used Insight Defection back then to directly instigate Ansel, the god of thunder and dark clouds. Otherwise, even if all of us attack, we probably won't be able to do anything about it. Zhou Zhou sighed. In retrospect, the two original spirit races he had faced back then were really heaven-defying. There was no need to mention Ansel. The two law skills, Exile the World and Time Reversal, displayed by Adam, the natural god of space and time, were also extremely heaven-defying. If not for the fact that the other party did not want to fight to the death and look down on the event rewards in the myriad races Lord Battlefield, it was really not certain who the strongest lord of all races would end up with. He shook his head and didn't think too much about it. He actually did not care about reputation. Who cared about who was the strongest? It was fine as long as he obtained the reward from the strongest lord of all races. Then, he opened the world channel as he felt the changes in his body. Chapter 573 Millions of Refugees. 2. Today is the third day. This rest period passed so quickly. It will be fine in another 7 days. Previous poster, I suggest that you give the Lord a winter break. Tomorrow is the King of 10,000 Kings event. I'm starting to feel nervous again. Every time the Supreme will appears, a large number of Cerulean planet lords will definitely die. I hope fewer lords die this time. It's best if I'm not the one who dies. I have 1,000 soldiers under my command now. I wonder if I can survive this King of 10,000 Kings event. 1,000 soldiers are all right. I suggest that they be mercenaries for the indigenous countries. This way, they can also freeload their training resources. That's what I did. I only have a little more than 1,000 soldiers under my command, and most of them are new recruits. They almost don't have any battlefield combat experience. Later, I sent 500 new recruits over to be mercenaries for the native kingdom. When they returned, I felt like all of them had become elite soldiers. I'm short of soldiers now. Most importantly, I'm short of weapons and skill books. Fuck. The drop rate of this high continent is really a scam. I've tried it. On average, 100 monsters can only drop one equipment or skill book. What kind of trash drop rate is this? Indeed, this drop rate is even crazier than anything I've ever played. I want skill books, equipment, cozy up to someone powerful, all kinds of things. Zhou looked at the chat content on the World Channel. His originally happy mood from obtaining the bloodline of the original spirit race calmed down a little. Tomorrow is the King of 10,000 Kings event. Fortunately, the enemy kingdoms around me have been cleaned up. Otherwise, I would have to guard against their sneak attacks while I carry out my activities. As for the Ice Demon Kingdom and those people of foreign races, I only defeated them once yesterday. For the time being, they shouldn't rashly send troops to start a war with me unless they know my background. Zhou thought. Today was his founding ceremony, so he did not plan to send troops out to fight again. As the protagonist, he was destined to be very busy and would definitely not have time to go out. Moreover, it would not be good to send troops on a day like the founding ceremony. In any case, one day was not a problem. He would treat it as a vacation for himself, the soldiers, and the subjects. Let everyone relax for a day. It would not be too late to continue developing tomorrow. At the thought of this, Zhou felt much more relaxed. Then, he thought of the lords on the World Channel regarding the need for skill books and equipment. I hope selling these skill books and equipment this time can earn back all the money I just spent on buying the original spirit race bloodline. Even half is good enough. Zhou thought. Then, he immediately opened the marketplace and placed 100 million skill books and 200 million equipment on it. As soon as such a large number of skill books and equipment entered the marketplace, they instantly attracted the attention of a large number of lords and quickly rose to the first place on the browsing list. The lords on the World Channel were once again amazed by the generosity of the King of the Blazing Sun. Zhou did not care about this. Even though it's the holidays. But we still have to do what needs to be done. After closing the marketplace interface, he stood up and walked towards the gate of summoning. In front of the gate of summoning, Zhou looked at the scene in front of him. A text notification appeared. Prompt: do you want to summon immediately? Yes. The next second, the gate of summoning suddenly lit up with a bright white light. Then, a large number of subjects walked out. Soon, the 4,000 new subjects walked out of the gate of summoning. Greetings, my lord, X4000, all the new subjects said respectfully. Welcome to Blazing Sun City. Zhou smiled. Then, he asked all the professionals to stand up and realized that he had summoned 235 professionals this time. There were 29 more professionals than usual. Then, he began to check the information of these professional subjects. Among the 206 professional subjects were 1 Diamond Tier Intermediate Grade Martial Master, 1 Diamond Tier Intermediate Grade Pudeo Soldiers, 1 Diamond Tier Intermediate Demon Warlock, 1 Diamond Tier Intermediate Blacksmith, and 2 Diamond Tier Intermediate Grade Architects. The rest were Diamond Tier Elementary Grade and below Life Professionals and Combat Professionals. Zhou nodded in satisfaction. It felt good to summon 6 talents attracted by his reputation rating a day. Back then, when Zhao Changshu first arrived, he was only a White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade Architect as a talent attracted by his reputation rating. Among the subjects he summoned normally, there were 2 diamond-tier intermediate-grade architects, not to mention the other 4 diamond-tier intermediate-grade professionals. Looking at it this way, he has really improved a lot recently. Zhou smiled, but there was no pride. He knew that he still had a long way to go. The achievement he had now was nothing compared to his goal. Then, he asked the staff beside him to arrange the work of these new subjects. Just as he was about to bring the soldiers to clean up the time ruins, a soldier suddenly rushed over from afar and came in front of him. Your Majesty, many refugees came from afar and said that they want to join our Blazing Sun Kingdom and become subjects of our Blazing Sun Kingdom. He panted and his eyes were wide open, as if he had seen an extremely shocking scene. Zhou was a little surprised. He had the white silver tier Lord talent, Embrace of the Conqueror. Due to his reputation, hundreds or even thousands of refugees would come from afar to join his territory every day. Wasn't this very normal? Why was he so flustered? Was he a newcomer? It's okay. Just accept them as subjects of our country. Zhou replied casually, not paying much attention to this matter. Your Majesty, it's not that we don't want to accept it. The situation is really beyond our control. We don't know how to deal with it. Vice City Lord Zheng specially asked me to come over and invite Your Majesty to take a look. The soldier said. Zhou was stunned. Uncle Zheng asked for me to go over. Let's go. Zhou changed his mind and immediately said. If Zheng Yuanqi really asked him to come over, something was probably wrong. What's going on? Zhou was puzzled. What sort of problems could the refugees cause? Zhou took the Starry Night spaceship and arrived at the city wall of the Supreme Defense. The reason why he took the spaceship was not because Zhou was lazy but because the current Blazing Sun King was too big. The territory that his upgraded territory increased was not the territory of the entire kingdom, but only the area of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. How big was the diamond-tier intermediate-grade Blazing Sun Kingdom now? The answer, a total of 80 million square kilometers. In the past, the surface area of the Earth he was on was only 510 million square kilometers. The area of the entire Blazing Sun Kingdom alone had already reached 1/6 the size of Earth. It sounded exaggerated. However, in the high continent that could accommodate the lords of all races fighting each other, such a small area was probably equivalent to the surface area of a grain of sand in the desert. It was precisely because the current size of the Blazing Sun Kingdom was too exaggerated that Zhou came over on the Starry Night. When he climbed up the city wall and saw the refugees under the city wall, he was immediately dumbfounded by the scene in front of him. Fuck. What's going on? Your Majesty, do you know why I had no choice but to invite you over? Zheng Yuanqi, who had been waiting at the side for a long time, could not help but smile bitterly when he heard Zhou's words. Zhou said nothing. His gaze landed outside the city wall on the endless tide of refugees. Among these refugees, most of them actually looked to have good living conditions. They looked like they were wearing gold and silver. Many refugees even emitted an obvious extraordinary tier aura. Why are you refugees when you're so rich and are at the extraordinary tier? Zhou was shocked. They're all refugees. Zhou could not help but ask. Yes. Zheng Yuanqi answered honestly. How many are there? No statistics, but according to my estimate, there are probably 1 million refugees. Zhou, is the world crazy or am I crazy? How could there be 1 million refugees? Is there a large-scale war nearby? Is that why a large number of subjects were displaced and looking for a new home? Zhou was filled with question marks. Chapter 574 4 million recruits. 3 extraordinary tier heroes. Have you sent someone to these refugees to ask them why they're here? Zhou asked. I've just sent someone to ask. They should be back soon. Zheng Yuanqi said. Zhou Zhou nodded. The two of them did not say anything else. Instead, they continued to look at the million migrants in front of them. Zhou Zhou realized something strange as he looked on. That was, most of the refugees were young people, and most of them were young women, occupying more than 80% of the refugees. What's going on? Zhou Zhou became even more puzzled. In his understanding, most of the refugees were elderly or young men, and there were also women, but the ratio had never been so high. Women did not have the advantage in exploration after all. Not every woman who was an extraordinary tier professionals who could withstand the test of physical hardship from exploration. Zheng Yuanqi had clearly realized this too, and the confusion in his eyes increased. He did not let them wait for long. A soldier quickly ran over and said respectfully to them, "Your Majesty, Vice City Lord Zheng, I just understood why they collectively came to our Blazing Sun Kingdom to become subjects." "Shoot!" Zhou Zhou said. From their answers, other than a small number of refugees who came to our Blazing Sun Kingdom to settle down because of the war suffering in the reputation of our Blazing Sun Kingdom, most of the other refugees, especially those who are mainly young women, came to our Blazing Sun Kingdom to become subjects because, when the soldier said this, his expression was a little strange. He wanted to laugh, but he was also a little proud. It's because they want to look better. They seem to have heard that His Majesty made all the subjects in the country beautiful and handsome. After this matter spread to foreign countries, these foreign subjects, especially foreign women, rushed over overnight. Zhou Zhou, they came all the way to our Blazing Sun Kingdom just to look good. Young and vigorous. Zheng Yuanqi felt a little emotional. Even though he was a little surprised, he felt that this matter was reasonable. Everyone loved beauty. Moreover, His Majesty's ability to make the entire country beautiful was indeed enviable. He suddenly thought of something and became excited. "Your Majesty." He looked at Zhou Zhou and said excitedly, "I think the arrival of these subjects is a good thing. The number of male subjects in our Blazing Sun Kingdom accounts for more than 90% of the entire country's subjects because soldiers originally occupied the democratic territories. This ratio actually hasn't improved much even with the addition of the Aurora Kingdom subjects. I've been worried about this for a long time. I've previously thought of adopting some good immigration policies to migrate female subjects from other human countries to our country. However, other than the Aurora Kingdom, the other human countries are too far from our Blazing Sun Kingdom. Without the help of the spatial teleportation array, it's very difficult to immigrate a large number of female subjects to our Blazing Sun Kingdom in a short period of time and resolve the serious imbalance in the number of subjects in our country. But now that His Majesty has the means to make the subjects beautiful, this problem has been easily resolved. The million female refugees in front of me are the best proof. And this is only the beginning. The fact that my appearance can be upgraded and optimized by becoming a subject of our Blazing Sun Kingdom has only just spread. Nearly 1 million female refugees came over in just one night. Then as time passes and the range of the news becomes wider, more and more female subjects will definitely come to our Blazing Sun Kingdom every day. Moreover, there will definitely not be a decrease in the number of refugees in the short term. In the future, there might be tens or even hundreds of millions of refugees coming to our Blazing Sun Kingdom in a day. In the future, our Blazing Sun Kingdom will no longer have to worry about the source of female subjects. The more Zheng Yuanqi spoke, the more excited he became. It was as if he could already see billions of refugees crazily pouring into the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Zhou Zhou was also attracted by Zheng Yuanqi's future. Uncle Zheng is right. This is indeed very likely to happen. In that case, the problem of the Blazing Sun Kingdom's excessive male vibe could indeed be resolved. Quickly arrange for them to become subjects of our Blazing Sun Kingdom. Thinking of this, Zhou Zhou immediately said. I've already arranged for more than 10,000 officials to resolve this matter before His Majesty came. It's just that there are too many refugees, so it doesn't look obvious for a while. Jing Yuanqi said with a smile. Zhou Zhou nodded. He looked at the million subjects under the city wall and sighed even more. He did not expect a mere green bronze tier lord talent, beauty, actually brought him so many benefits. TSK. It was extremely likely that he would attract 1 million subjects in a day and more than 100 million subjects would join in the future. Even diamond tier and extraordinary tier lord talents could not achieve this effect of attracting subjects. He did not expect the lord talent he did not care about to be a treasure. Moreover, with the addition of so many female subjects and the number of male soldiers in his country, the green bronze tier lord talent, peach luck, would also be of great use. Chapter 575 4 million recruits. 3 extraordinary tier heroes. 2, my God. These 2 lord talents are really a perfect match. Thinking of this, Zhou Zhou became even happier thinking of this. He looked at the million subjects below and thought of something. Yes. Only women with rich family backgrounds, or who are extraordinary tier themselves, or both have the ability to come to the Blazing Sun Kingdom overnight. TSK. A large group of rich and beautiful women have arrived. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. The single men in his territory were in luck. What a coincidence they're here. It just so happens to be in time for our Blazing Sun Kingdom's founding ceremony. Jing Yuanqi also sighed. When will the founding ceremony begin? Zhou Zhou asked. The auspicious hour is 10 a.m. Jing Yuanqi said respectfully. Let me know when the time arrives. Zhou Zhou said and turned to leave. Then, he led the soldiers to clean up the time ruins, went to the golem lair, and summoned the 126 golems today. Finally, he arrived at the monster ranches. He looked at the monster ranches in front of him. Currently, with the number of ranches reaching 50 and the monster ranches nurturing 50,000 monsters each, the total number of monsters nurtured has already reached 2.5 million. Among them, there were 2 monster ranches that nurtured the black-tailed fog scorpion and produced poison crossbow soldier recruitment books and class change certificates. There were 2 monster ranches that nurtured undead knights and produced Aurora cavalry recruitment books and class change certificates. There were 3 monster ranches that nurtured withered trees and produced tree core gems and jade sun tree seeds. 4 were used to cultivate the iron-eating bear to produce its pet eggs, nurture the mechanical fear falcon, and produce 4 monster ranches each with the fear falcon wings and the fear falcon 3 radar. There were 24 monster ranches that nurtured violent storm demon spirits and produced kingdom-level soldier types, violent storm spirit recruitment books and class change certificates. This was the current situation of the monster ranches. Zhou Zhou did not waste his breath and began to lead his troops to clean up the monster ranch and extracted all looks. In terms of the mist cores, he had obtained a total of 17.5 million green bronze tier mist cores, 10.5 million white silver tier mist cores, 7 million yellow gold tier mist cores, 6,125,000 white platinum tier mist cores, 2,537,500 diamond tier mist cores, and 87,500 extraordinary tier mist cores. There were also more than 14 million soldier type class change certificates. 1,375,000 king of yellow gold recruitment books. 155,620 poison crossbow soldier recruitment books. 960 elemental archer recruitment books. 257,595 aurora cavalry recruitment books. 3 million violent storm spirit recruitment books. 215 fragments of the proof of legion. 1,201,500 true faith tier scarlet crystals. 835,100 pious tier scarlet crystals. 463,300 fanatic tier scarlet crystals. More than 1,500 white platinum tier and yellow gold tier mount contracts. 200,000 iron-eating bear pet eggs. 200,000 Fear Falcon wings and Fear Falcon 3 radar. 59. 6 million units of original gold. As for the other loots, there was no need to describe them. Zhou Zhou looked at the loots and his gaze landed on the soldier types almost immediately. When he saw so many soldier-type recruitment books, he could not suppress the smile on his face. Ha! He laughed out loud. A total of 4,789,175 soldier-type recruitment books. When they were recruited from the Gate of Summoning later, there would be a total of 4,789,175 new subjects. Oh my God! He only had a total of 5,383,863 soldiers under his command. This was almost equivalent to the total military strength of the new Blazing Sun Kingdom. In total, there would be 10,173,038 soldiers. In the outside world, this was almost comparable to the total military strength of 5 veteran beginner kingdom. Compared to the newly established beginner kingdom, it was equivalent to the total military strength of 10 newly promoted beginner kingdoms. Including the more than 4 million troops of the Star Alliance, the military strength he could control was almost 20 million. Previously, the people of Foreign Race Alliance that Floyd had created only had about this number. And that was the allied army of 18 people of foreign race kingdoms. He had actually already reached it. Even Zhou Zhou was shocked by the speed at which his strength increased. Then, he was pleasantly surprised and excited. As expected of a monster ranch that had leveled up twice in a row. This improvement really did not disappoint me. He brought these 4 million recruitment books to the Gate of Summoning and spent the Mist Corps to recruit all 4 million new recruits at once without hesitation. Soon, more than 4 million recruits appeared neatly in front of Zhou Zhou. Greetings, Your Majesty. More than 4 million recruits roared in unison. It was so loud that it shook the world. When the female subject who had just joined the Blazing Sun Kingdom heard this voice, her body went limp. It was unknown if it was because she was frightened or for some other reason. Since you've come to the Blazing Sun Kingdom, you're our people from now on. As the king of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, I, Zhou Zhou, guarantee that I won't mistreat you. Zhou Zhou looked at the 4 million new recruits and was in an extremely good mood. He, who rarely spoke at this time, also said a few words to these recruits. The recruits were also very excited. Even though they had just arrived at the Blazing Sun Kingdom, they could tell from the surrounding people that they had joined a powerful kingdom. After all, that upright aura and confident and proud gaze could not be deceived. Then, these recruits were brought by Bai Yun and the others to join the Blazing Sun Army. At this moment, Zheng Yuanqi walked over with 12 people. Your Majesty. Zheng Yuanqi said respectfully. Greetings, Your Majesty. Seeing this, the 12 people behind him also said respectfully. Zhou Zhou nodded. Who are these people? He looked at the 12 people behind Zheng Yuanqi. Your Majesty. They are especially outstanding subjects that I discovered during the process of accepting new subjects. 3 of them have extraordinary identities. That's why I wanted to bring them over for Your Majesty to see. Zheng Yuanqi replied. Zhou Zhou looked at the 12 people seriously again. Soon, his eyes lit up. This was because he realized that 3 of them actually emitted the faint aura of heroes. Zhou Zhou immediately understood. These should be the 3 extraordinary tier heroes who had been rewarded by the Lord Talent, Embrace of the Conqueror, in his Conqueror Kingdom. As for the other 9 people, he glanced at the message. He realized that they were 9 extraordinary tier lifestyle professionals. These should be the 9 reputation rating talents rewarded by the 3 Lord announcements on the Cerulean planet. After thinking it through, a smile appeared on his face. Welcome to the Blazing Sun Kingdom. This king believes that this king's country will definitely not disappoint you. Zhou Zhou said. The 12 of them hurriedly replied without any arrogance. Even though they were rare talents with 3 of them having extraordinary tier hero slots, they immediately realized that there were many capable people in the Blazing Sun Kingdom after they entered. It was not rare to see other epic tier talents or even other epic tier heroes. How could they be proud? However, this did not make them disappointed. Instead, it made them even more excited, feeling that joining the Blazing Sun Kingdom was the right choice. Everyone hoped that the country they were in was a powerful country after all. The King of the Blazing Sun in front of them made them even more shocked and impressed. They had already heard about it before they came. This King of the Blazing Sun, who owned the Blazing Sun Kingdom, not only had many capable people under his command, but he was also a super fierce person. The news of him killing 7 heroes of the people of foreign race alone with his spear had already spread. There were even legendary tier people. In the entire Blazing Sun Kingdom, the human king of the Blazing Sun was the one with the strongest combat strength. There were real battle results as evidence after all. And such a fierce person actually spoke so kindly. When communicating with them, he did not have any arrogance from above, making people feel like they were bathing in a spring breeze. This was simply too rare. With such a monarch around and also so many fierce people supporting this monarch, the future of the Blazing Sun Kingdom would be bright if nothing went wrong. Everyone sighed in their hearts. Chapter 576 31 Heroes 1. Zhou Zhou looked at the 12 people in front of him, especially the 3 heroes with extraordinary tier slots. There was an irrepressible smile on his face. At this moment, 11 more existences appeared in the distance. Among them, 6 were humans and 5 were fog monsters. At this moment, their bodies emitted a strong heroic aura. Greetings, Your Majesty. After they arrived in front of Zhou Zhou, they immediately knelt on one knee and said respectfully and fanatically. Seeing their attitude, the 3 extraordinary tier heroes who had just joined the Blazing Sun Kingdom were immediately stunned. Then, they were deeply amazed. Was this still a newly established human kingdom? Not to mention the heroes they had just seen along the way. What was going on with the 11 heroes in front of them? Since when did heroes, an existence with an extremely high status, start to be sold wholesale like cabbages? Shouldn't it be normal for a new beginner kingdom to only have 3 heroes at best? The scene before them, if they did not understand the situation, they would probably think that they had come from an old intermediate kingdom or even a new advanced kingdom. At the same time, Zhou Zhou looked at the 11 heroes kneeling on one knee and nodded. Then, he smiled and said, "It seems that your hero inheritances have been accepted very smoothly. How can we disappoint Your Majesty?" The 11 heroes said respectfully. "Not bad." Zhou Zhou smiled. These 11 heroes were not born for any other reason. They were personally created by Zhou Zhou. Yesterday, he led the army and killed 11 heroes of the people of foreign races on the battlefield of the People of Foreign Race Alliance army. After that, he extracted the 11 hero inheritance secret manuals from their bodies. After bringing them back to the capital of the Blazing Sun, Zhou Zhou almost immediately handed them to Bai Yun, Wuxia, and the other main generals and asked them to reward the top 11 soldiers with the highest military merits according to the performance of the soldiers on the battlefield yesterday. Regardless of birth, race, position, or qualifications. Only in terms of military merits. This created the 11 new heroes in front of him. Among them, the lowest was a hero with an epic tier slot, and the highest was a hero with a legendary tier slot. Their strengths were also at the extraordinary tier and epic tier. With such slots and strength, they were enough to be a pillar of the country even in the intermediate kingdom or even an advanced kingdom. If word got out, it would probably shock the living beings of countless races in the outside world. Zhou Zhou was naturally quite happy. The number of heroes under his command had already reached 31 with these 11 new heroes and the 3 heroes who had just joined the extraordinary tier slots. How could that beginner kingdom have such a strong reserve of heroes? Not to mention that there were still 3 hero inheritance manuals that had yet to be exchanged for in his military merit exchange system. If the 3 heroes of the Aurora Kingdom were willing to join him, they would be 3 more heroes. I can't be proud. Even though I'm developing well now, I'm still far inferior to an empire like the Elven Empire that has hundreds of heroes. Not to mention a higher-level country. And at the moment, as a kingdom-level lord faction, intermediate kingdoms or even advanced kingdoms are also qualified to attack me. Who knows if any heaven-defying intermediate kingdom or even advanced kingdom has a faction like mine or even stronger. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. The arrogance that had just risen in his heart immediately dissipated. It was not that he did not want to be arrogant. There was no benefit in being arrogant in this dangerous world. There was nothing wrong with being cautious. Go and prepare. Let's all participate in this king's founding ceremony later. This king doesn't want the enemies in the outside world to know for the time being that I have so many heroes under my command. Zhou Zhou said. In a while, as the hosts, they would definitely hold a military parade to show their strength to the guests at the founding ceremony. However, Zhou Zhou was naturally not stupid enough to expose all his strength at the founding ceremony just because he wanted to show off. He just had to show the strength he had revealed previously again. As for these new heroes in front of him, let them keep a low profile for the time being. Yes, Your Majesty. The 14 heroes said respectfully. Then, he was taken away by Zheng Yuanqi to arrange their residence and positions. At the same time, just as the capital of the Blazing Sun was preparing for the founding ceremony, in a catacomb hundreds of kilometers away. 7 people of foreign races of different races gathered here. They have one thing in common, their bodies emitted the pressure of heroes. At this moment, 6 of the 7 heroes were looking in the direction of the Blazing Sun Kingdom in the distance, their eyes filled with aggro and coldness. Our kingdom lost heroes and 1,000,000 troops in battle, and the entire kingdom fell because of this. The Lord of the Blazing Sun actually held a founding ceremony in the capital. My son was killed by the King of the Blazing Sun with a spear. This enmity is irreconcilable. I really want to eat his flesh raw. Damn the King of the Blazing Sun! He'll destroy his country one day. The 6 heroes of the people of foreign race said angrily. Only the last hero sat on a huge rock, looking calmly and coldly in the direction of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. It was about 10 meters tall and had a humanoid body that was thin. Its limbs were slender and its entire body was covered in an ice blue ice crystal. Even its eyes were ice blue, and its body emitted a faint cold aura. Chapter 577 31 Heroes 2. It was a legendary tier hero from the Intermediate Kingdom, the Ice Demon Kingdom. Ice Blood Ghost Spike, Arno. Why wait until the future? Well, cause a scene at their founding ceremony and embarrass him, the new king today. You can use the random teleportation scroll I gave you to leave after causing a scene. No matter how strong this King of the Blazing Sun is, can he chase you billions of miles away? Don't worry about your safety. Just cause destruction to your heart's content. Arno said coldly. It was ranked within the top 5 even in the Ice Demon Kingdom. She actually looked down on His Majesty for arranging for her to come here to deal with the king of a new beginner kingdom. However, when she thought of the other party's results, she felt a little more fervent. The fact that this King of the Blazing Sun can kill 7 heroes of the people of foreign race on the battlefield by himself is definitely not because he's very strong. It must be because he has a treasure that can allow him to fight above his level. Perhaps it's a treasure rewarded by the Supreme Will after he became the strongest lord of all races in the previous event. The treasures on him will be mine as long as I kill him. When the time comes, my status in the Ice Demon Kingdom will definitely increase greatly. I might even be able to use that treasure to peep at the path of a god and step into the god spirit slot. At that time, the Ice Demon Kingdom will respect me. The more Arno thought about it, the more excited she became. She wished she could fly to the king of the blazing sun now, kill him, and obtain his treasures. However, she was still there. She was quite calm and knew to be cautious at all times. In the high continent, there were not many cases of low-level professionals being killed by low-level professionals because they relied on their high realm. Therefore, even though it looked down on the other party, it still decided to deal with it with all its might. Arno looked at the 6 heroes of the people of foreign race. These 6 heroes of the people of foreign races came from 6 people of foreign race kingdoms. They were the 6 kingdoms in the people of foreign races alliance army. As for the other kingdoms and factions that participated in the people of foreign races allied army, they were terrified by the results of the king of the blazing sun. When they heard that the Ice Demon Kingdom wanted to deal with the king of the blazing sun again, they did not want to send heroes to help in the battle at all. They only dared to come over to today's matter because of their aggro and benefits. What did you prepare? Arno glanced at the 6 heroes of the people of foreign race and asked calmly. When the other heroes heard this, they immediately told her the methods they had prepared for today. Arno listened calmly. As legendary tier heroes of the intermediate kingdom, these methods that extraordinary tier and epic tier slots regarded as their strongest trump cards were actually just ordinary trump cards to him. She only really perked up its spirit after hearing the methods prepared by the 2 heroes of the people of foreign race. These 2 heroes of the people of foreign race came from the Demon Thunder Kingdom and the Spiritual Goo Kingdom respectively. The former prepared a myriad thunder violent storm magic forbidden spell scroll with the power of a mid-level deity tier elementary grade. It was said that this was a mid-level deity tier forbidden spell scroll that the other party's founding emperor, the Demon Ape King, had sacrificed himself and fused many deity tier materials before he died. The hero of the Spirit Goo Kingdom brought a low-tier deity-level Death Curse Blood Goo. Even though this Death Curse Blood Goo was only a low-level deity and looked weaker than the Myriad Thunder Violent Storm Magic Forbidden Spell Scroll of the Demon Thunder Kingdom, this Death Curse Blood Goo contained a complete law skill. Law skills were nothing. Everyone present was from the Veteran Beginner Kingdom, and Arno was from the Veteran Intermediate Kingdom. It seemed that the kingdom's level was very low. It could only come into contact with extraordinary tier, epic tier, and legendary tier powers. However, they had existed in the high continent for hundreds or thousands of years. Who didn't have a trump card that could fight above their level and intimidate the enemy country? Even though the law skill was high-end, in their eyes, it was at most a normal national treasure and not a rare national treasure. However, when the hero of the Spiritual Goo Kingdom said the nature of this law skill, the expressions of all the heroes present, including Arno, immediately changed. All the heroes of the people of foreign races looked at the blood-colored worm in fear, as if this worm contained extreme terror. While Arno was terrified, greed flashed in her eyes. If not for the fact that she was wary of the kingdom's orders and that her family bloodline was still in the kingdom, she would have given up on this mission and snatched this little worm away. As expected of the Spiritual Goo Kingdom with the strangest methods. I didn't expect you to even nurture goo worms that contain the instant death law skill. Arno forcefully retracted the greed in her eyes and probed with a faint smile. The ancestors of our Spiritual Goo Kingdom were once a branch of the Myriad Goo Empire. This Death Curse blood insect was also passed down by the ancestors. There's only this one left. Moreover, only clansmen like me who contain the bloodline of the Myriad Goo Empire can barely control it. Other life forms without the bloodline of the Myriad Goo Empire can't control this Death Curse blood goo. If they forcefully control it, they will suffer the backlash of the Death Curse blood goo. The heroes of the Spiritual Goo Kingdom said calmly. The other heroes were a little disappointed when they heard this. Arno barely dismissed the idea of snatching the Death Curse blood goo. After seeing the expressions of the heroes of the people of foreign race, the hero of the Spiritual Goo Kingdom heaved a sigh of relief on the surface. It took a huge risk to bring this only Death Curse blood goo out because it wanted to avenge the chief high priest of the Spiritual Goo Kingdom, the hero of the people of foreign race who was killed by the king of the blazing sun on the battlefield of the people of foreign race alliance. Moya and her were biological sisters who had grown up together. Their relationship was extremely deep. After hearing that Moya had been killed by the king of the blazing sun, she decided to bring the spirit Gu kingdom's treasure, the death curse blood Gu, over. Now, she only hoped that she could personally kill the king of the blazing sun and avenge her sister. Of course, she wanted to fight for some benefits for her country at the same time. Let me make things clear first. If I can use the death curse blood Gu to kill that king of the blazing sun, I can give up on the race divine artifact after the blazing sun kingdom is destroyed, but I want 30% of the blazing sun kingdom's wealth on behalf of the spiritual Gu kingdom. She said coldly. Of course, if you can really kill the king of the blazing sun, the first credit will be yours. 30% of his wealth is nothing. That's right. Arno and the other heroes of the people of foreign race agreed. No one knew each other's true thoughts. Arno stood up after they discussed the specific actions again. Okay, I'll repeat the goal of this operation. Our main goal is to destroy the king of the blazing sun's founding ceremony. At the same time, we have to try our best to test the king of the blazing sun's methods. Our secondary goal is to kill him. Of course, if we can really kill the king of the blazing sun, the secondary and main targets don't matter. The main goal is to serve the secondary goal after all. Arno said. Got it. The 6 heroes of the people of foreign race nodded. Then get ready to move. Okay. Yes. At the same time, in the blazing sun kingdom. Intermediate grade Lord's Paradise. It was 9:30. There was still half an hour before the founding ceremony officially began. Zhou, who had just changed into the Emperor Dragon robe and was about to go to the venue of the founding ceremony, suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of danger. This warning sign was very clear, and it seemed to be not far from him. Zhou narrowed his eyes slightly. He knew that this was because his danger prediction had been triggered. An enemy wants to harm me. He was not flustered. From the time he rose to now, he had led his troops to kill countless opponents, so he had accumulated many enemies. It was not impossible for him to understand why these enemies chose to attack him on such an important day. But we can't let rat shit ruin such a big day today. Zhou muttered. A treasure suddenly appeared in front of him with a thought. It was the treasure he had obtained from the Aurora Kingdom, the Great Thousand Rivers and Mountains painting. Chapter 578 Arno's Divine Outfit, 1, Let me see, where are you guys? Zhou looked at the Great Thousand Rivers and Mountains painting in front of him and focused his spirit in the direction given by danger prediction. The next second, his vision darkened, and a new scene quickly appeared around him. He looked at the scenery. There were neat jade sun trees growing around this place, and in the distance, there was a small city. On the city wall of the city was a stone tablet with the words, Jade Sun City, written on it. It's actually in Jade Sun City. Zhou remembered this place. The place where Jade Sun City was originally a regional territory called the Withered Forest Plains. It was the source of the Monster Ranch monster, the Withered Demon Tree. As for Jade Sun City, it was originally called Deadwood Village. Later on, after joining the Blazing Sun territory, they were heavily nurtured because everyone was very loyal to Zhou. Some subjects were assigned to their original residences. Not long after this group of people worked together to build it, Jade Sun City was born. He took a rough look and realized that the subjects of Jade Sun City were not harmed. Then, he looked in the direction of the danger prediction perception. Then, he flew over. After a while, he arrived at a catacomb. An astonishing perception was immediately released. He saw the heroes of the Ice Demon Kingdom and the other 6 heroes of the people of foreign race not long after. At the same time, he knew their goal and origins from their occasional discussions. So it's the enemy behind the People of Foreign Race Alliance army. I haven't even looked for you yet, you're here again. Zhou Zhou's expression turned cold when he saw this. At this moment, Arno, the ice blood ghost Spike, seemed to have vaguely sensed something. She suddenly turned to look in Zhou Zhou's direction and said sternly. The other 6 heroes of the People of Foreign Race were shocked and hurriedly looked over. However, she did not see anything. Did Lord Arno discover something? A hero of the People of Foreign Race asked in surprise. Weird. I vaguely sensed a life form spying on us just now. In the end, I turned around and didn't find anything. Could it be my imagination? Arno frowned. The other heroes were also shocked and they heard this. They hurriedly released their perception to observe their surroundings. In the end, they naturally did not discover anything. They did not say anything when they saw this, thinking that Lord Arno was being a little paranoid. Arno did not say anything, but there was a hint of confusion between her eyebrows. Could she really be overly suspicious? In the intermediate grade Lord's Paradise, the Blazing Sun Kingdom. This hero of the Ice Demon Kingdom is quite sharp. My consciousness was almost discovered. Zhou Zhou retracted his gaze from the great thousand rivers and mountains painting and thought calmly. However, it was actually fine to be discovered. When he saw these guys, it was destined that these enemies of the People of Foreign Races would die. With a thought, Zhou Zhou quickly gathered Bai Yun, Wuxia, Qi Xiantian, Suan, Guo and 10 other subordinates through the army interface. Greetings, Your Majesty. Bai Yun, Wuxia, and the others said respectfully. Zhou Zhou nodded calmly. Who's in charge of patrolling the safety of the capital? He said. Your Majesty. It's the Soul Arrow, Wu Tuesday. Bai Yun said respectfully. Let him receive his own punishment after the founding ceremony. Temporarily set it as a small punishment. The enemy is already in front of us, but he hasn't discovered it yet. What's the use of this patrol? Zhou Zhou snorted. Even though he knew that it would be very difficult for Wu Tu to discover the methods of those extraordinary tier, epic tier, and even legendary tier heroes with his diamond tier strength, however, the fact was that he did not discover the enemy. He had to be punished. The rewards and punishments were orderly. This was one of his most important principles as a lord. However, he also showed mercy and made it a small punishment. This punishment was too small. At most, he would be demoted from his official position and fined. Otherwise, if it was another country, removing his official position and demoting him to a commoner was a light punishment for such a security lapse to happen on an important day like the founding ceremony. It was even possible to directly order him to commit suicide to atone for his crimes. The heroes also knew that Zhou Zhou was benevolent. No one pleaded for mercy for Wu Tuesday. Instead, they praised the Lord's benevolence. Come with me. Let's meet these friends of the People of Foreign Race. Zhou Zhou emphasized the word friends. Yes. The soldiers accepted the order. Seeing this, Zhou Zhou used the green bronze tier Lord talent, returned to the city, and disappeared with everyone. At the same time, in the catacombs to the southeast of Jade Sun City. The ice blood ghost Spike, Arno looked at the distant blazing Sun Kingdom and stood up with a serious expression. Everyone, according to the information. The founding ceremony of the blazing Sun Kingdom will begin in about 5 minutes. You can follow me to the blazing Sun Kingdom. The city wall of the blazing Sun Kingdom is said to be the legendary Supreme Defense City Wall. But don't worry, the city wall level of the Supreme Defense is the same as the territory level, and that King of the Blazing Sun has only been in the High Continent for a short period of time. His territory level is only at the Diamond tier intermediate grade. He hasn't even reached the Extraordinary tier. Therefore, the city wall level of the Supreme Defense is only at the Diamond tier intermediate grade. It can't withstand our joint offensive. As long as the King of the Blazing Sun doesn't react in time and doesn't have time to activate the absolute defense mode of the Supreme Defense, we can quickly break into the Blazing Sun Kingdom and wreak havoc inside the capital. Everyone, when the time comes, act according to the situation. If you encounter danger, just use the random teleportation scroll to leave. Arno said. The Ice Demon Kingdom had long provided her with rich information support before she came. Therefore, she still had some understanding of the situation in the Blazing Sun Kingdom. When the 6 heroes of the people of foreign race heard this, they felt even more at ease. Then prepare. Who? Arno felt an alarm ring in her heart before she could let it out. It was as if a great fear was about to descend on her. Her face twisted from the stimulation of this terrifying crisis. She immediately flew away with all her might almost instinctively. The other 6 heroes of the people of foreign race also had similar fear in their hearts and began to escape in all directions. The next second. Rumble. Accompanied by an earth-shattering thunderclap. Arno and the other heroes of the people of foreign race, who had just flown into the sky and dodged this crisis, turned their heads to look. They were so frightened that their souls almost flew away. On the ground. A huge abyss pit was actually formed on the ground in a radius of 5,000 to 6,000 meters by a thunder god spear. This huge abyss pit seemed to have no bottom. There was only dark blue lightning with a faint golden light covering the entire huge abyss pit. The terrifying aura of laws circulated around the huge pit in the abyss, making the heroes of the people of foreign races feel fear. 2 heroes of the people of foreign race could not help but swallow when they saw this scene. They suddenly felt that coming over to cause trouble for the King of the Blazing Sun today might be a wrong choice. Even Arno was shocked. However, she could tell at a glance that this person was the target of these heroes when she saw Zhou Zhou in the sky wearing the Emperor Dragon robe with the sword of Xian Yuan hanging from his waist. Chapter 579 Arno's Divine Outfit, 2, So bold of you to leave the city. However, this guy only has the strength of an extraordinary tier advanced grade, but he can actually use such a powerful law skill. As expected of the strongest lord of all races from the last event. As long as I kill him, the opportunities on him will definitely give me hope of becoming a god. Arno's eyes burned with ambition. It was as if the opportunity on the King of the Blazing Sun was already in her bag. As for the 10 subordinates beside him, she only glanced at them before looking away as if they were nothing. They were all small characters at the epic tier level. Even though it was shocking that such powerful subordinates were in the hands of a new king who had just established the beginner kingdom, if she ignored this point, this strength was actually nothing to a legendary tier expert like her. At the same time, in the sky, Zhou Zhou was not surprised to see the 7 heroes dodge his Thunder God Spear. This was the first time he had used the Thunder God Spear, a law skill, so he was more or less unfamiliar with it. In addition, these people of foreign races were heroes with at least epic tier strength. He could still do this with all his might. Then, he raised his right hand and condensed another divine spear that emitted the aura of the lightning laws. Then, he looked at the 7 heroes of the people of foreign races covetously. His chaos human constitution and the original spirit race constitution added up to an extremely huge amount of chaos origin energy in his body. Currently, he could condense 11 or 12 Thunder God spears in a row without any problem. It was not an exaggeration to say that he could deal with all 7 heroes of the people of foreign races alone. Bringing Bai Yun, Wu Xian, Qi Xiantian, and the others along was just to prevent them from escaping. At the same time, after seeing the King of the Blazing Sun condense another law skill, the expressions of all the heroes of the foreign races present changed drastically, except for Arno. In the face of such a terrifying law skill attack, they would definitely not be able to withstand the Blazing Sun King's attack other than unleashing methods like the Death Curse Blood Goo and the Myriad Thunder Violent Storm Magic Forbidden Curse Scroll. Why don't you show your trump cards? Do you want to save them for when you're dead? At this moment, Arno roared at them. Hearing this, the 6 people of foreign races gritted their teeth and immediately took out their trump cards. There were also heroes from the people of foreign races who took out alchemy potions that could increase their strength by a large level in a short period of time. There were even heroes who carefully took out a zombie that emitted the aura of a low-level deity tier elementary grade expert from their spatial treasure. For a moment, a battle that was almost comparable to deity tier had actually erupted near this small Jade Sun city. They are using all of their trump cards. Zhou could not help but be surprised when he saw the 7 heroes of the people of foreign races show their abilities. At the same time, he became even more cautious about the kingdom-level factions in this world. Previously, the Nether Bark Kingdom had been able to invite a lesser god spirit to assassinate him. And these beginner kingdoms in front of him could also use similar methods. From this, it could be seen that even though the beginner kingdom was the lowest level lord faction in the kingdom, however, if it developed for thousands of years, it would eventually accumulate some methods that exceeded its own level. I can't underestimate these beginner kingdoms just because my strength has increased. Zhou thought to himself. At the same time, just as these people of foreign races attacked, there was no need for Zhou to order. Bai Yun, Wu Xian, Qi Xiantian, Wuxia, Suan, and the others also attacked, blocking the methods of these people of foreign races for Zhou. Some resisted with difficulty, some resisted with ease, and some were evenly matched. However, they could not stop the 2 people of foreign races, so Zhou did not let them. These 2 methods of the people of foreign races were none other than the Demon Thunder Kingdom's heroes Myriad Thunder Violent Storm Magic Forbidden Spell and the Spiritual Goo Kingdom's heroes Death Curse Blood Goo. The former appeared directly above Zhou in the form of rolling thunderclouds, completely locking onto him. No matter where Zhou went, the thunderclouds would follow him. Once others came into the range of the thunderclouds, not only would they fail to help Zhou block the power of the forbidden spell, but they would also trigger the mechanism of the forbidden spell, increasing the power of the lightning contained in the thunderclouds. As for the latter's Death Curse Blood Goo, it seemed to have locked onto Zhou. Bai Yun and the others wanted to block the Death Curse Blood Goo, but they realized that the blood-colored worm had passed through their bodies and was flying straight towards Zhou. Bai Yun and the others still wanted to catch up and block him. Zhou hurriedly stopped them. With Bai Yun and the others' physiques, they should not be able to block this Death Curse Blood Goo. If they forcefully blocked this terrifying goo worm, they would die. He did not have many Holy Spirit tier Faith Divine crystals after all. He could not lose one just because of this little bug. Then, his gaze landed on the blood-colored bug that was flying over. Seeing the blood-colored bug turn into a blood-colored light and rush towards him, Zhou only watched this scene with a faint smile. He had no intention of attacking. At this moment, all the heroes of the people of foreign races couldn't help but look at the King of the Blazing Sun, even if they had to split their attention to fight. Was the Death Curse Blood Goo about to succeed? The next second, they were shocked to see that the Death Curse Blood Goo landed on Zhou's body and bit him. Thick spatial power erupted, forming a spatial passageway with endless suction behind it, directly sucking it into the spatial rift. All the people of foreign races smiled. Ha, this King of the Blazing Sun will definitely die. The instant death law skill of the Death Curse Blood Goo is infinitely close to 100% when facing an existence weaker than it. This King of the Blazing Sun is only an extraordinary tier advanced grade, but the Death Curse Blood Goo is a lesser deity level goo. The difference in strength is so great. If this King of the Blazing Sun doesn't die, he'll eat shit in public. When this King of the Blazing Sun, who has no descendants, dies, the Blazing Sun Kingdom will collapse on its own. At that time, we will be able to obtain the wealth of his kingdom. The eyes of the heroes of the people of foreign races burned. It was as if they had already pocketed all the wealth of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. But in the next moment, it was as if they had seen something that shocked them greatly. They looked at the King of the Blazing Sun in horror. After the Death Curse Blood Goo bit down, the insect teeth that could bite through a god spirit's body failed to bite through Zhou Zhou's body. Instead, 2 of its teeth were broken. The death curse blood goo did not give up when it saw this. Instead, it was stimulated by the ferocity in its bloodline and took 3 bites in a row. And then, its teeth were all broken. Tears welled up in its eyes. Its teeth hurt so much that it cried. "Is my body hard?" Zhou Zhou used his chaotic energy to transform into a chaotic hand. He lifted the little bug and asked with a smile. He had long seen that this little bug contained the power of instant death. He had mastered the power of this law himself after all. It could be said that they were very familiar with each other. In addition, he had long absorbed the bloodline of the extreme dragon race and condensed the extreme dragon body that was immune to the laws of instant death. Therefore, he was not afraid of this death curse blood goo at all. Therefore, the spiritual goo kingdom's method of protecting the country was almost like scratching an itch to him. Chapter 580 Dropping a Set of Divine Equipment. 1. Zhou Zhou didn't even rely on the divine artifact, Shadow Cloak, when facing this death curse blood goo. He only relied on his physical strength to firmly block this little bug outside his body. Then, he carefully checked the death curse blood goo. After discovering that it did not have any hidden cards, he slashed with his right hand and opened a world crack that led to the small world in his body. He casually threw the little bug into the small world in his body. Facing a small world created with the Thunder Law and the Dark Cloud Law as the foundation, the Death Curse blood goo could be said to be completely countered in terms of origin stats. Putting it into his small world, even if this little thing was a low-tier deity-level goo worm, it would not be able to turn the world upside down. Then, he looked up at the dark clouds in the sky. In the surging dark clouds in the sky, the spirit of the lightning bloodline of a huge ape condensed. At this moment it was emitting the terrifying aura of a mid-level deity tier elementary grade. Roar! She was not afraid of Zhou Zhou at all and even looked at him curiously. The lightning elemental spirit formed by the demon ape king's bloodline seemed to have been angered and immediately roared at Zhou Zhou. Then, it immediately swooped down from the center of the dark clouds with a thunderous momentum, smashing towards Zhou Zhou with a shocking momentum. Rumble. The two collided in the blink of an eye. The remaining lightning directly spread to a radius of 5 kilometers. Fortunately, it was just some aftershocks, so Bai Yun and the others were not injured. But even so, the heroes of the people of foreign races were still watching this scene in fear. Even Bai Yi and the others, who were confident in their emperor, could not help but worry. After a long time, the lightning dissipated. Zhou Zhou floated in the void unscathed. Not only were there no wounds on his body, but even the emperor dragon robe was not damaged. Fine. Focus on the enemy. At this moment, Zhou Zhou's voice rang in the ears of his subordinates. The heroes heaved a sigh of relief and continued to focus on dealing with the enemies in front of them. Why is this king of the blazing sun so strong? Even a mid-level deity tier forbidden spell can't hurt him. Let's run. Where's Lord Ghost Spike? I wonder if she has any trump cards. Why isn't she attacking? The hearts of the people of foreign races wavered. However, they were still confident of escaping with the random teleportation scroll, so they were not very panicky. They wanted to see what trump cards the hero from the intermediate kingdom had. At the same time, Zhou Zhou was also watching the battlefield. As for the 10,000 lightning violent storm just now, it was naturally useless to him, who had the divine body of lightning. It even replenished the consumption of his previous Thunder God Spear. He casually condensed 2 Thunder God Spears and threw them at the heroes of the Spiritual Goo Kingdom and the Demon Thunder Kingdom. How fast was the lightning? There was a loud bang. Before the 2 heroes of the people of foreign races could take out the random teleportation scroll and escape, they were blasted into pieces by the Thunder God Spear. Fortunately, I can also extract loot from bits and pieces. Otherwise, I would have lost 2 hero inheritance manuals. When Zhou Zhou saw this, he muttered inwardly. Then, he looked at the battlefield again, looking for an opportunity to attack. But as he watched, he raised his eyebrows slightly. What about the heroes of the Ice Ghost Kingdom? He muttered to himself. At this moment, he felt a slight sense of alarm in his heart. An ice-blue figure suddenly pierced out of space with an ice-blue dagger in her hand and stabbed at Zhou Zhou. It was the ice-blood ghost Spike, Arno. Die. Arno's expression was ferocious. She had already used her full strength in this attack. But just as its dagger was about to pierce Zhou Zhou's neck, a hand that emitted a faint white light slightly blocked in front of the dagger and grabbed it, preventing Arno's attack from advancing. When Arno saw this scene, not only did she not panic, a sly smile even appeared on her face. The next second, the dagger suddenly released a huge amount of energy to attack Zhou Zhou. And the power of this energy attack had shockingly reached the level of a high-level deity. A dagger that can release a full-strength attack from a high-level deity tier is considered a national treasure in our Ice Demon Kingdom. His Majesty really values you. Even such a treasure is specially used to deal with you. Arno looked at the King of the Blazing Sun, who was covered by the energy shockwave. She knew that the other party would definitely die, so she subconsciously relaxed and said indifferently. But at this moment, an illusory arm that emitted a faint grayish-black light, as if it was formed by dark clouds, suddenly flew out from the energy shockwaves. It grabbed her by her neck and lifted her up. Arno's ice-blue eyes widened as she tried to shake off the arm in horror. However, the divine power contained in this arm made her unable to escape no matter what method she used. After the energy shockwaves dissipated, Zhou Zhou's unscathed figure appeared in front of Arno. However, the current her was somewhat different from the human form just now. The current Zhou Zhou seemed to be made of pitch-black dark clouds, looking deep and mysterious. You, Arno looked at Zhou Zhou in horror. How is that possible? That was an all-out attack from a high-level deity tier. How could it not even kill an extraordinary tier advanced grade lord? What kind of existence is this guy? At this moment, an unprecedented fear finally surfaced in her eyes. She felt that this human in front of her could not be dealt with at all. He was like the incarnation of invincibility. Zhou Zhou also looked at Arno. The attack that this guy had unleashed just now was indeed extraordinary. If not for the fact that he was not only the god of lightning, but also the god of dark clouds, and could immediately transform his lightning body into a divine body made of dark clouds, greatly reducing the attacks that descended on him. He might really have been reduced by this attack to resurrect the Lord of the End once. He looked unscathed now, but in fact, more than 90% of the divine power in his body had been consumed to resist the attack just now. I still lack actual combat experience. Zhou Zhou concluded in his heart. This was also the reason why he came to the battlefield. He had 4 resurrection spots now. With so many resurrection spots in hand, he could now boldly come into contact with combat. Otherwise, in the future, if the soldiers in front of him could not withstand the enemy's attack, if he did not have any combat experience, he could only fight in a panic and be killed by the enemy with rich combat experience. Now that he had enough resurrection times, it was a good time to nurture his combat experience. Fortunately, this time, it was a close call. Not only did he accumulate combat experience, the number of times he revived also did not decrease. Then, he looked at the hero of the Ice Ghost Kingdom in his hand. At this moment, the hero of the Ice Ghost Kingdom still wanted to escape from Zhou Zhou's grasp and kept attacking him. However, now that he was maintaining the dark cloud divine body formed by the divine power of the dark clouds, even an attack from a high-level deity tier could offset most of it, let alone the attack of a mere legendary tier hero from the people of foreign races. Her attacks landed on him, but they were useless. She was defeated. You can't get away with this. If you want to live, there's only one way. Surrender and join this king's blazing sun kingdom. This king can spare your life. Zhou Zhou suddenly said. Chapter 581 Dropping a set of divine equipment. 2. Arno also stopped attacking and looked at Zhou Zhou in surprise. How dare this guy say such a thing? Aren't you afraid that he'll agree on the surface but betray you behind your back? Could he have a special method in this aspect? A tiny human lord wants me to surrender. I won't betray my country. Don't even think about it. Arno said coldly. The actual reason was that her family was still in the capital of the Ice Ghost Kingdom. If she dared to surrender, once the news spread, her family in the capital would definitely not survive. Moreover, this Lord of the Blazing Sun should really have methods to restrict those who surrendered. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said such words. Since that was the case, she would not waste her energy doing that. Zhou Zhou looked at her. With his advanced telepathy, he could vaguely sense that the other party seemed to have some concerns. You can tell me if you have any concerns. Zhou Zhou said. He still did not want to give up on this legendary tier hero of the people of foreign race in front of him. You seem to think you have me in your pockets? Arno grinned. Then, she flipped her right hand and a random teleportation scroll appeared in her hand. She immediately communicated with the random teleportation scroll with its spirit, wanting to use the random teleportation scroll to teleport millions of kilometers away. When the time comes, even if the King of the Blazing Sun wanted to chase after her, he would definitely not be able to catch up to her in a short period of time. She could completely return to the Ice Demon Kingdom safely and inform His Majesty of the news of this battle. From there, His Majesty would understand more of the King of the Blazing Sun's methods and prepare for the next war. However, in the next second, her face froze. What? What's going on? Why is there no reaction from the random teleportation scroll? She cried out. How can such a ridiculous thing happen? At this moment, she suddenly felt something and turned her head stiffly to the side. She saw a pitch-black spatial rift the length of an arm floating beside her. There was a faint blink of lightning in the deepest part of it. Under the influence of this spatial crack, ripples appeared in the surrounding space. It was as if a rock had been smashed into the calm water. When Arno saw this, her already ice-blue face turned even paler. How could she not know? It was precisely because this spatial crack disturbed the space and made it unstable that the random teleportation scroll in her hand failed. She looked at Zhou Zhou and realized that Zhou Zhou was also smiling at her. Then, he said something that made her completely despair. None of you will escape. Still not surrendering. Arno was silent for a moment before shaking her head. Just kill me. She closed her eyes. Zhou Zhou felt that it was a pity. Then, he casually summoned a chaos spear and pierced through the other party's heart, destroying her vitality. A text notification appeared. You have killed the legendary tier elementary grade ice blood ghost Spike, Arno. You have received plus 4 billion promotion energy. Loots condensed. Blessing of the War God, you have obtained an additional 320 billion promotion energy points. You have obtained your first hero biography. Please work hard to obtain more hero biographies and forge your own hero fate level slot. Boom. The surging promotion energy poured into Zhou Zhou's body like the Milky Way. Zhou Zhou felt that he was getting closer and closer to the epic tier stage. Finally. Rumble. There was almost no obstruction. Zhou Zhou broke through the bottleneck of the epic tier realm and reached the low epic tier elementary grade. I'm finally at the epic tier. Zhou Zhou lamented. Ever since he had the epic tier Lord talent, Blessing of the War God, he felt that his advancement speed was as fast as a cheat. It had only been a few days. He himself had advanced from Diamond Tier Advanced Grade to Epic Tier Elementary Grade. It was unbelievable just thinking about it. After calming down, Zhou Zhou looked at Arno, who was already dead, and shook his head regretfully. Then, he took out the lutes. Lord Talent Notification, your lutes have been enhanced by the King of Lutes, Perfect Lutes. Grade +1. Title Hint, your lutes have been affected by the title of the Strongest Lord. The number of lutes has increased by 150%. Lord Talent Notification, you've obtained Perfect Lutes, 50 Divine Crystal Fragments, Low-Level Deity Tier Elementary Grade, 3 Vampires Hidden Thorn Hero Skill Books, Low-Level Deity Tier Elementary Grade, 3 Ice Vampire King Body Hero Skill Books, Low-Level Deity Tier Elementary Grade, 3 Spatial Concealment Divine Spark Fragments, Mid-Level Deity Tier Elementary Grade, 3 Ice Demon God Sacrificial Dagger Equipment, Low-Level Deity Tier Elementary Grade, 3 Ice Demon God Sacrificial Robes, Low-Level Deity Tier Elementary Grade, 3 copies of Random Teleportation Scrolls, Mid-Level Deity Tier Elementary Grade, 1 copy of Book of the God Spirit, Low-Level Deity Tier Elementary Grade, 1 Secret Manuals of the Hero Inheritance, Low-Level Deity Tier Elementary Grade, 20 Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. When Zhou Zhou saw the lutes, he could not help but smile. A legendary tier elementary grade hero from the people of foreign races actually dropped a set of divine equipment. Perhaps only a super lord talent like the King of Lutes could do such a ridiculous thing. He first looked at the battlefield and realized that his subordinates could basically deal with the remaining 6 heroes. He then ignored them and began to check the lutes. Needless to say, there was no need to talk about divine crystals. Vampire's Hidden Thorn and Ice Vampire King Body were hero skill books. One was an assassin's attack type hero skill, while the other was a hero skill that strengthened the body. Zhou Zhou took a look and retracted his gaze. He planned to reward it to Bai Yun, Wuxia, and the other heroes. Whoever wanted to learn it could directly spend military merits to learn it. Then, he looked at a divine spark fragment of spatial concealment and chose to learn it. After experiencing part of the experience of a low-level god spirit of the god of space and concealment, he successfully comprehended the law skill, spatial concealment. Law skill name, spatial concealment, law skill quality, low-level deity tier elementary grade, law skill introduction. The user can control the power of the laws and escape into space. They can temporarily stay in the interlayer of space and spatial turbulence for a short period of time and restrain their auras. The living beings who have mastered the spatial concealment can ignore weak spatial influence. Zhou Zhou looked at this law skill and nodded slightly. This law skill was quite practical. Since the drop rate of monsters was too low on the high continent, so actually, there were many methods that could affect space. Basically, powerful life forms would master 1 or 2 abilities to affect space to prevent enemies from escaping through space or using spatial treasures. This was the greatest value of spatial concealment. For example, Arno, the hero of the people of foreign race. If it mastered the spatial concealment law skill, it might be able to ignore the world fissure created by Zhou Zhou and escape into space. That would really cause some trouble for Zhou Zhou. Fortunately, it did not know such methods. Otherwise, Zhou Zhou would have missed out on its godly outfit. Then, he looked at the next lutes. Chapter 582 Ice Demon Races Book of the God Spirit. Divine Artifact Name, Ice Demon Sacrificial Dagger, Divine Artifact Grade, Low-Level Deity Tier Elementary Grade, Divine Artifact Law Skill, Sacrificing God, Prompt, it can be bound to the soul. Divine Artifact Name, Ice Demon Sacrificial Robe, Divine Artifact Grade, Low-Level Deity Tier Elementary Grade, Divine Artifact Law, Worshipping God, sacrifice the divine crystals to the Ice Demon Sacrificial Robe. Every 10 divine crystals can release a God Spirit Ice Attribute Law Defense skill of the same level. Prompt, it can be bound to the soul. Sacrifice type Divine Artifact, it costs divine crystals to use it. Zhou Zhou had a strange expression. To him, this type of law skill was not very useful, nor was insignificant. As a chaos human, the chaotic origin energy in his body could naturally replace divine power to cast law skills or activate divine artifacts. Which meant, even if he didn't have this divine sacrifice function, he could still use a god spirit level law skill or unleash the normal power of a divine artifact. That was something even the original spirit race, who also had divine power, could not do. In reality, it was a weakened version of pseudo-divine power at best. It was incomparable to ordinary divine power. Not only was this pseudo-divine power unable to activate the full power of the divine artifact, it could only unleash a portion of its power. Even the power of law skills was inferior to the power of law skills used by god spirits. As a chaos human, he could unleash the normal power of law skills and divine artifacts. This was also the advantage of the chaos humans. And because of that, Zhou Zhou did not need the method of sacrifice to a god spirit to use law skill attack skills and defense skills at the god spirit level. When he thought of this, he put these 6 divine artifacts into his imperial treasure box. Then, he looked at the next loots. Treasure name, random teleportation scroll, treasure grade, mid-level deity tier elementary grade, treasure effect, use your spiritual power to activate the random teleportation scroll. It can immediately teleport the user 10 billion kilometers away. If the user's teleportation location is within 100 million kilometers, you can perform directional teleportation. Treasure description, a random teleportation scroll created by a spatial god spirit. There's no danger in using it. You don't have to worry about being randomly teleported underground or other dangerous places. It's a good escape treasure. Randomly teleported 10 billion kilometers away. Directional teleportation can be carried out within 100 million kilometers. What a treasure! Zhou Zhou put it away with a smile. Then, he looked at the Book of the God Spirit. Treasure name, Book of the God Spirit, treasure grade, low-level deity tier elementary grade, treasure effect, the mythical book that recorded the ice demon god, Ba-Yi's path to becoming a god. After using it, you can embark on the road to becoming the ice demon god. Treasure description, Book of God Inheritance. After using it, you can walk on a smooth path to becoming a god, but whether you can really become a god in the end depends on the user himself. Ice demon god, Ba-Yi, could it be a god spirit from the ice demon kingdom? Tsk tisk. I wonder how the ice demon kingdom will feel when they find out that the divine inheritance of their race has fallen into my hands. Zhou Zhou thought with a strange expression. Zhou Zhou thought for a moment and decided not to reward the Book of the God Spirit to his subordinates. Instead, he put it away. The next loots would be this low-level deity elementary grade hero inheritance manual. Treasure name, Hero Inheritance Secret Manual, grade, low-level deity elementary grade, treasure ability, you can obtain the heroic inheritance of the Ice Spike King, Ba-Yi after using it. Introduction, I am the Ice Demon God and also the King of Assassins. Ice Spike King, Ba-Yi, Zhou Zhou stroked his chin and looked at the secret manuals of the hero inheritance. The low-level deity elementary grade hero inheritance was already considered a very precious inheritance. It was rare even among humans. He thought for a moment and also put it into his spatial ring. He would reward this hero inheritance secret manual and Book of the God Spirit to his subordinates who performed well in war in the future. As for rewarding Bai Yun, Wuxia, and the others, Zhou Zhou had this thought but he quickly rejected it. The level of these two treasures was a little low. Zhou Zhou felt that he could not use them to restrict his veterans general's future. They were not like Suan. His potential was extremely high, and his future would not be restricted by the temporary inheritance of the god spirits. Even though Bai Yun, Wuxia, and the others' aptitudes had been improved by the sword of Xian Yuan, the Sun Moon Star Sword, their potential was actually only average. Like Bai Yun, her aptitude was only at the low-level deity advanced grade. Wu Xin's was even lower, only at legendary tier advanced grade. Once they accept the God Spirit inheritance, they might be stuck at the level of the God Spirit inheritance for the rest of their lives. Zhou Zhou still had feelings for the veteran generals. Even if they really wanted to choose a book of the God Spirit in the future to determine their future limit, Zhou Zhou had to get them a few high-level books. This way, even if there was a gap between the generals in the future, the gap would not be too big. No matter what, Zhou Zhou wanted to give them at least a high-level deity-level book of the God Spirit. Zhou Zhou continued to look at the battlefield in front of him. After the death of the Ice Blood Ghost Spike, Arno, the remaining 4 heroes clearly panicked. In addition, they gradually realized that they could not defeat Zhou Zhou's heroic subordinates, so they also thought of escaping. However, just as they took out the random teleportation scroll and activated it to escape, their expressions changed. This was because they had actually discovered that this low-level teleportation scroll was actually unable to allow them to open a spatial passageway to escape. Zhou Zhou smiled. He had already disturbed the space around them through the world fissure. It was impossible for this group of people of foreign races to escape with the help of a random teleportation scroll. Surrender and I won't kill you. Zhou Zhou said calmly, seeing that the time was about right. His voice spread to the ears of every hero of the people of foreign race with the help of the chaotic origin energy. I surrender. Am willing to surrender. Don't kill me. Spare me, am willing to surrender. I surrender too. Hearing this voice, the 4 heroes of the people of foreign race who had been almost beaten to death by Qi Xiantian, Suan, and the others immediately said hurriedly. Qi Xiantian, Suan, and the others also stopped. I'll announce now that you've joined the Blazing Sun Kingdom and become a subject of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Zhou Zhou said again. The heroes of the people of foreign races did not dare to raise any objections and immediately did as Zhou Zhou said. After they did as Zhou Zhou said, a strange feeling affected their will. Then, when they looked at Zhou Zhou again, almost all their bad thoughts were gone. There was only reverence and loyalty in their eyes. When Zhou Zhou saw this, his expression did not change at all. Come on. Let's return to the Blazing Sun Kingdom and continue the founding ceremony. There should still be time. Zhou Zhou said calmly. Yes, Your Majesty. Everyone and the heroes of the people of foreign race who had just surrendered said respectfully. Zhou Zhou nodded. Then, he turned around and flew in the direction of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. The others and the people of foreign races followed. In the Blazing Sun Kingdom. At the venue of the founding ceremony. Zhou Zhou sat upright on the throne in the Emperor Dragon robe and looked upon the soldiers and guests who were entering the venue one after another. Chapter 583 Guests and gifts among them, the Titan King, Fens, and Li Yuangan, were both here. At this moment, they were sitting below and chatting happily with their surrounding friends. There was no communication between them. They were even very cold towards each other. They were mortal enemies with each other when they were in the Titan Kingdom and the Aurora Kingdom after all. This attitude was too normal. At this moment, Zheng Yuanqi walked over. Your Majesty, we have 3 important guests. He whispered. Who? Zhou Zhou was stunned. Zheng Yuanqi whispered into Zhou Zhou's ear. When Zhou Zhou heard this, an obvious surprise appeared on his face, followed by surprise. Take me there. Zhou Zhou stood up and said. Your Majesty, please follow me. After saying that, Zheng Yuanqi led Zhou Zhou to a hall at the side. In the hall. When Zhou Zhou arrived, he saw 3 figures standing in the hall. 2 of the figures were wearing black robes and emitted a terrifying vengeful spirit aura. They were the King of Eternal Silence and his wife, whom he had not seen for a long time. The other person had sharp ears, long blood-red hair, and a strange beautiful blood-colored pattern on his face. She had a graceful figure. She was wearing blood-colored light armor and carrying an exquisite blood-colored bow on her back. She looked like she was intertwined by blood and fire, and there was war and misfortune around her. However, at the same time, she exuded a soul-stirring beauty. Zhou Zhou looked at her and his gaze also softened. "Long time no see, Nadia." Zhou Zhou lamented. This person was Nadia, the first-generation blood-fire arrow elf who had bonded with Zhou Zhou because of the time ruins and then revived from the dead. Nadia smiled. Then, she looked at Zhou Zhou and could not help but say. "However, even though it hasn't been long, it really feels like a long time. At that time, you were only a lord who had just arrived in the high continent. Now, you have already established a kingdom and become the king of a country." Zhou Zhou smiled and did not say anything. He was indeed developing very quickly. There was nothing to be humble about. He looked at the King of Eternal Silence and apologized. "I'm sorry. This hero of the Elven Empire and I are old friends who have not seen each other for a long time, so we chatted a little more and neglected the two of you. It's fine. You didn't actually talk much. You're the protagonist today, and we're not in a hurry. If you have more to talk about, you can talk for a while." The King of Eternal Silence smiled and said. The more it and its Queen of Eternal Silence looked at the new king in front of it, the more shocked they felt. When they first met Zhou Zhou, he was just an ant in their eyes. He even needed their help to escape from the enemy then. How much time has passed? The unfamiliar and familiar human in front of them actually made their hearts skip a beat. The vengeful spirit couple looked at each other and saw the surprise and disbelief in each other's eyes. However, both of them were vengeful spirits with noble qualities. Even though they were puzzled, they did not ask further. "Didn't the two of you seal yourselves in the sandstorm forbidden land? Why did you suddenly emerge?" Zhou Zhou asked doubtfully. "It's naturally because of you as our new neighbor. And you are familiar to us, so we came over to take a look and celebrate your new kingdom." The King of Eternal Silence explained. There was another reason he did not reveal. That was, this new king was suspected to be related to the mysterious caravan. They had benefited greatly from the previous transaction with the mysterious caravan, so they came over because of this reason. Zhou Zhou nodded. He had a guess as to the real reason why they had come personally. However, he did not say it out loud. He chuckled and chatted with them. The King of Eternal Silence and his wife flipped their right hands, and a jade box appeared as they chatted. "This is a congratulatory gift from our Kingdom of Eternal Silence to your Blazing Sun Kingdom. I hope it catches your eye." The King of Eternal Silence smiled and said. "You're too kind." Zhou Zhou said politely. Then, he took the jade box and looked at it. Magic Scroll Name, Hero Projection, Magic Grade, Legendary Tier Advanced Grade, Magic Effect. Open the scroll and summon two vengeful spirit projections of the King of Eternal Silence and the Queen of Eternal Silence with the strength of a Legendary Tier Advanced Grade. They will fight for the King of the Blazing Sun. The duration of the vengeful spirit projection is 1 hour, number of summons, 3/3. Treasure Description, a magic scroll specially created by the King of Eternal Silence and the Queen of Eternal Silence to celebrate the founding of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Zhou Zhou was a little surprised. Then, a smile appeared on his face. "I like this gift very much. Thank you for worrying about me." He smiled. He really liked this scroll. Being able to summon the King of Eternal Silence and his wife 3 times was equivalent to summoning 6 legendary tier experts to fight for him. This was already a pretty good congratulatory gift. As long as you like it. When the King of Eternal Silence and his wife saw that the smile on Zhou Zhou's face was not fake, a smile appeared on their faces. When Nadia saw this, she also took out a green gift box. "This is a congratulatory gift specially sent by the Empress of our Elven Empire," she said. As soon as these words were spoken, Zhou Zhou and the King of Eternal Silence looked at Nadia. Lord Elven Empress. The only original elf in the world. The King of Eternal Silence could not help but ask. Nadia nodded. The King of Eternal Silence and his wife were secretly shocked. Even though they had lived underground for a long time, they had their own channels to obtain information from the outside world. Therefore, they knew very well how powerful the Elven Empress was. It was said that this original Elven Empress was the candidate with the greatest hope of promoting their Empire-level Lord faction to a Divine Kingdom-level Lord faction among so many generations of Elven Empire kings. They did not expect. The human lord in front of them was actually related to that existence. The other party even took the initiative to give him gifts. At this moment, Zhou Zhou's status in their hearts increased even more. Zhou Zhou was also a little surprised that the Elven Empress would notice him and was even more curious about the gift given to him by this Empress. He waved his right hand and got someone to bring the green gift box over. He opened it and saw a leaf with mysterious green patterns and emitted a faint green fluorescence lying quietly in the gift box. Zhou Zhou took a deep breath. He felt a large amount of life force surge into his body. Even though he was a chaos human, he felt his spirit suddenly rejuvenate. Zhou Zhou looked over in surprise. Treasure name, Holy Leaf of the Elven Mother Tree, Treasure Grade, True God Tier Elementary Grade, Treasure Effect, keep it on your body and you can block 1 fatal damage for your main body. When the wearer suffers injuries below the True God Tier level, it can quickly recover to a healthy state for a short period of time. Treasure Description, the Holy Leaf of the Elven Mother Tree, containing majestic life essence. Chapter 584 Nadia and Bai Yun. Zhou Zhou's eyes lit up when he saw the effect of the Elven Mother Tree. What a treasure! This effect was almost equivalent to a resurrection opportunity. As expected of the Empress of the Elven Empire, she was so generous. When you get back, thank your Majesty for me. I like this gift very much. Zhou Zhou smiled and put it away. Nadia smiled and nodded. The four of them chatted for a while. Then, Zhou Zhou smiled and said, "Everyone, it's getting late. It's almost time for me to appear. Let's go participate in the ceremony first." It was the founding ceremony today, so he naturally could not spend all his time with them. Sure. The King of Eternal Silence, his wife, and Nadia nodded in agreement. Then, the three of them left and walked towards the venue. For the rest of the time, Zhou Zhou participated in the founding ceremony. During this process, the fixed procedure of the military parade was naturally unavoidable. When heroes like Bai Yun, Wu Xian, Qi Xiantian, Suan, Wuxia, and many dragons appeared, even though all the guests present had long understood and were mentally prepared, they were still stunned by this scene. How is this like a newly established beginner kingdom? In terms of the number of heroes, I'm afraid they have surpassed even that of an intermediate kingdom. The King of Eternal Silence looked at the heroes and could not help but sigh. I didn't expect that the brat who still needed us to save back then had actually grown to the point of being able to stand shoulder to shoulder with us. The Queen of Eternal Silence also sighed. Standing shoulder to shoulder with us? I think it's more than that. Don't forget, this is only a ceremony to showcase his strength. With this new king's past experiences, he's definitely not stupid enough to show his full strength. This King of the Blazing Sun is probably hiding a huge force in the dark. Of course. This is just my guess. The King of Eternal Silence said. The Queen of Eternal Silence nodded. We've sealed ourselves underground for too long. How long has it been since we've seen such a grand occasion? She whispered. Take a closer look. Well, go back tonight. The King of Eternal Silence grabbed the Queen of Eternal Silence's hand and said gently and firmly. It was impossible for him to make the Kingdom of Eternal Silence reappear just because of the Queen's request. Otherwise, the undead army of the Kingdom of Eternal Silence would definitely bring a disaster to the main world and even misfortune to his neighbor, the King of the Blazing Sun. The existence of the Kingdom of Eternal Silence was a sin they had personally caused. In order to seal this sin, they would not hesitate even if they had to be suppressed underground forever. They had already been wrong once. They could not make another mistake. The Queen of Eternal Silence pursed her lips and looked at the magnificent scene in front of her. Crystal tears subconsciously fell from the corners of her eyes. On the other side, Nadia, the first blood fire arrow elf, could not help but feel shocked after watching the military parade. How did he do it? He actually saved up such a fortune in such a short period of time. No wonder Her Majesty values Zhou so much. From the military parade just now, Zhou indeed has the potential to be valued. Nadia thought to herself. She came this time to celebrate Zhou's establishment of the kingdom. Secondly, she wanted to convey the Empress kindness. Thirdly, she wanted to see how the Zhou kingdom was doing for the Empress before returning to report the truth. This was naturally not a leak. The founding ceremony was held under the attention of tens of thousands of people after all. What it displayed was not a secret. The reason why the Empress specially instructed her to report the situation of Zhou's kingdom truthfully was, she wanted to invest in Zhou. Actually, the original Elven Empress had wanted to invest in Zhou previously. However, at that time, Zhou was only an ordinary lord of all races. Even though he later obtained the title and status of the strongest novice lord and was even noticed by the Supreme Resistance, it could not change the fact that he was still not even a kingdom-level lord. Due to the Supreme Agreement, even as the Empress of the Elven Empire, she could not interfere too much. However, now that Zhou had established the beginner kingdom and become a lord of a kingdom-level lord faction, even though such a faction was still not worth mentioning in the eyes of the Elven Empire, it had already reached the point where they could barely talk. The Elven Empire could also carry out some hidden help and investments. As for how much to invest and how to invest, it would depend on how Nadia reported when she returned this time. Nadia did not think too much about it. She naturally decided to report truthfully when she returned. She did not dare to hide or exaggerate. The Empress was not an ordinary person. She could tell at a glance if she was telling the truth. Moreover, Zhou was indeed developing extremely well. Therefore, reporting it truthfully was the best choice. As the person with the deepest relationship with Zhou, she was naturally in charge of the contact and investment work after that. Thinking of the future, she would have more contact with Zhou in the future. Nadia could not help but smile beautifully, making the surrounding guests lose their minds. "Are you Sister Nadia?" At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded in her ear. Nadia was stunned. She turned around and saw a valiant female general standing beside her. She was wearing casual clothes, making her look both heroic and feminine. "You are, the second-generation blood fire arrow elf, Bai Yun." Nadia stood up and looked at Bai Yun in surprise. Bai Yun nodded. "Can I sit beside you?" Bai Yun asked. "Of course." Nadia immediately nodded. Due to the aura of the beauty and the status of the empire, no one in a radius of 2 to 3 seats dared to sit there. Bai Yun smiled and sat down. Nadia felt the other party's aura and was a little surprised. High-level Wood Elves bloodline. She remembered that when she first became a hero, her bloodline was only that of a normal Wood Elves. Logically speaking, the bloodline obtained by the inheritor should be that of a normal Wood Elves. Could it be that she had obtained an opportunity to increase the level of her bloodline? Nadia thought to herself. Such opportunities that could increase one's bloodline were often very rare. She had only transformed her Wood Elves bloodline into the Fire and Blood Elves bloodline after the Empire paid a huge price. This extremely rare composite bloodline was only one level higher than the high-level Wood Elves bloodline. She did not hide her doubts and asked curiously. She also said that she could choose not to tell her if it was inconvenient. There's nothing inconvenient. His Majesty helped me upgrade it with special methods previously. Bai Yun smiled. Nadia nodded as expected. She did sense a faint aura of high-level wood elves from Zhou Zhou. At this moment, Zhou Zhou was even more mysterious in Nadia's eyes. You've already made your own path. Nadia observed for a few more seconds before saying in surprise again. She had forged her own path. This meant that the hero in front of her was no longer restricted by the hero inheritance. Her future could be said to be immeasurable. Bai Yi smiled and nodded. Nadia admired her even more. The two of them started chatting again. Perhaps it was because they were both female heroes and also had the title of Blood Fire Arrow Elf. The two of them no longer felt distant as they chatted, as if they were good friends who had known each other for many years. Chapter 585 Construction of the God of Death Statue. God Spirit Preliminary Selection. The founding ceremony lasted from the morning to a little past 4 in the afternoon. Not long after it ended, the King of Eternal Silence, his wife, and Nadia bade farewell and left. Zhou Zhou tried to persuade them to stay. Seeing that they really had something to do, he did not stop them. He sent them out of the Blazing Sun Kingdom and borrowed their 2 starry knights to go to their respective destinations. After the founding ceremony ended, Zheng Yuanqi and the others also had their own positions. The official position system of the Blazing Sun Kingdom was based on the 9th grade official position system of the High Continent. Zhou Zhou had no objections. The official position system in the High Continent had been developed for tens of thousands of years. Even though Zhou Zhou was confident in the official position system of the Cerulean planet, he was not confident enough to ignore everything. Moreover, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. The Cerulean planet's methods might not be useful on the High Continent. Among them, as the Deputy City Lord of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, Zheng Yuanqi handled government affairs for the Blazing Sun Kingdom. There was no problem with his qualifications or ability. He was naturally the first-grade Prime Minister of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Bai Yun, Nazario, and the other legion commanders of the 4 legions took on the responsibility of a first-grade Great General of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. As for the heroes, they would take on the position of the Kingdom Guardian of the Blazing Sun Kingdom according to their strength and hero slots. Zhao Changshou was the construction official of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. At the same time, he was the president of the Blazing Sun Kingdom's Architecture Association and enjoyed a second-grade official position. As for the other lifestyle professionals and combat professionals, they had also arranged their positions. As for the palace of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, it was naturally the intermediate grade Lord's Paradise. His intermediate grade Lord's Paradise was extremely huge. It was not a problem for them to host more than 1 million people at the same time, so it was naturally not a problem for them to take on the responsibility of the palace. As for the place to deal with politics, it was arranged in the administrative hall of the capital. The administrative hall was also huge, so it was not difficult to carve out a place in the palace that had been modified to deal with political matters. Moreover, the administrative hall was also the place where officials dealt with government affairs on a daily basis. This would also make it easier to convey and resolve government affairs. The flag of the Blazing Sun Kingdom was set against the background of the endless and deep sea of stars, and in the upper left corner was a dazzling white sun. In other words, it was the image of, endless sea of stars support the sun and the sun will bestow upon the stars. The sun naturally referred to the blazing sun of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. As for the endless sea of stars, it referred to the future of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. The Blazing Sun Kingdom wanted to expand its territory to the endless sea of stars or even the endless heavens. As for the matters of the other kingdoms, they were also arranged in the announcements of the conferences behind the founding ceremony. As the new king, Zhou Zhou naturally participated in the entire process. He was not unfamiliar with this after mastering the Emperor's heart technique. Instead, he was quite familiar with it. In some places, it was even more perfect than Jing Yuanqi's methods. This made all the ministers who witnessed it sigh. Their emperor was really a natural emperor. After everything was done, Zhou Zhou was about to return to his room when Zhao Changshou found him. Your Majesty. The God of Death statue has been built. And a guardian of death was born in our territory almost at the same time. Zhao Changshou said. When he mentioned the guardian of death, he also looked very surprised. Clearly, he did not expect it to happen so quickly. Zhou Zhou was also very surprised. Let's go take a look. Yes, Your Majesty. The two of them walked towards the God of Death statue. In front of the God of Death statue, a young man in white was looking up at the 100-meter-tall statue. This one held a God of Death scythe and was covered in a black cloak, looking mysterious and dignified. Is this the spokesperson of Death, God of Death, His Excellency Thanatos? Zhang An muttered. He was originally a young man with congenital necrosis. Even the many doctors and clergymen in the territory were helpless against this terminal illness. His family had used all kinds of methods to help him. They had even spent a huge amount of contributions to buy a kingdom-level combat class from the Violent Storm Spirit from the treasure vault to change his profession to the Violent Storm Spirit and comprehend extraordinary power. However, it proved to be useless. According to the immortal divine medicine doctor, Lu Kaier, the only way to resolve his terminal illness was to let his strength reach the diamond tier and comprehend the complete professional skill of the Violent Storm Spirit, the wind and thunder elemental body. From there, he could completely transform himself into an elemental constitution. This could solve his congenital necrosis problem. However, there was a problem. After completely transforming into the wind and thunder elemental body, he could not return to his human form and could only live in the world as an elemental. Even though this method had a huge drawback, they chose to try it in order to let Zhang An live. However, his body could not withstand high-intensity battles. Even if he insisted on killing monsters every day, coupled with the help of the Master God Tier's blessing of the War God, his extremely low killing efficiency could not support him to reach the diamond tier before he died. His family and friends were in despair facing this problem. However, not only did Zhang An not care, but he also cherished his relatives and friends even more and did many things for them. In the end, he could not withstand the invasion of his illness and died on the hospital bed today. But not long after, he opened his eyes again, his family dumbfounded. Then he realized. Not only was he healthy, but he also had the power of an Empire-level combat class called the Guardian of Death other than the Kingdom-level combat class, the Violent Storm Spirit. He had shockingly become a dual profession holder. At the same time, he understood some of the Guardian of Death's class abilities and some death-related matters and secrets. He knew that the Guardian of Death he had was not given to him by the God of Death. Instead, it was given by the Law of Death. The Law of Death admired his attitude towards death, so it gave him new life and the power of the Guardian of Death. Then, he followed his senses and arrived here after appeasing his family and friends who had experienced great sorrow and joy. He saw the God of Death statue that had just been built. What a rich power of the Law of Death! Zhang An felt it again and clicked his tongue. You can feel the Law of Death. At this moment, a gentle and curious voice suddenly came from behind him. Zhang An was shocked. He turned around and saw the surprised Zhou Zhou and Zhao Changshou. Your Majesty. Uncle Zhao. Zhang An was shocked and immediately bowed. No need to be so polite. Is what you said true? Can you really feel the power of the Law of Death? Zhou Zhou checked the young man's attribute information as he asked curiously. What surprised him was that the young man in front of him was not only a Diamond-tier elementary-grade Violent Storm Spirit professionals, but also a Diamond-tier elementary-grade Guardian of Death. A dual profession holder. This was extremely rare among the trillions of life forms in the High Continent. He only had 3 professions because of his Lord talent. The young man in front of him did not have his Lord talent. He continued reading. This young man's talent was actually at the true God-tier elementary grade. Moreover, there was a special talent in this young man's skill list. Talent, blessing of the law of death, talent effect, the talent and potential of the person blessed by the law of death will increase greatly. At the same time, his comprehension of the law of death will be comparable to a high-level bloodline life form with a death-type constitution. After reading it, Zhou Zhou could not help but look at the young man in surprise. Good God! A preliminary God spirit. Chapter 586 Absorbing the Royal Bloodline of 10,000 Gu. This child might not be inferior to that brat Xiao Xian in the future as long as he grows up. Moreover, this is a talent of the law of death. Once he becomes a god spirit of the law of death, his combat strength will also be quite terrifying. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. Then, he thought of another situation. Every guardian of death would receive the blessing of the law of death. If that was the case, the value of this god of death statue was immeasurable. He tried to ask the child. In the end, Zhang'an said uncertainly, I don't know either, but I don't think it's like that. He didn't want to deliberately elevate himself, but his intuition, which came from the profession of guardian of death, told him that his talent was only a coincidence. If the other guardians of death wanted the blessing of the law on him, it would probably depend on their mood. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. Even though it was a pity, he was not too disappointed. This was actually within his expectations. If the god of death statue really had that heaven-defying miraculous effect, the Nether Bark Kingdom would not have been so easily breached by him. Then, Zhou Zhou and Zhang'an chatted for a while. With his high-level telepathy, he quickly knew that the young man in front of him was quite kind and filial. In this chaotic war world, this quality could be said to be quite rare. It also made Zhou Zhou value him even more. Are you willing to accept my nurturing and work for me and the Blazing Sun Kingdom? Zhou Zhou looked at him and asked seriously. Can I, really do it? When Zhang'an heard this, he was first very excited, then a little terrified and hesitant. Of course. Your potential and personality are worthy of being nurtured by my country. However, don't be arrogant because of your favor. Work hard to improve yourself and let me see your improvement. Only then will the resources I invest in you in the future not be in vain. If this young man did not work hard to advance after accepting his resources, but he also relaxed and slacked off, he would not nurture him diligently because of his potential aptitude. There was not much else in his territory, just a whole lot of talents and experts. He would not feel that it was too much of a pity not to nurture a person with high potential with two professions. I accept. Thank you, Your Majesty. I will definitely work hard and not disappoint Your Majesty. When Zhang'an heard this, he pondered for a moment and said seriously. Originally, he was a little confused after being reborn and did not know what to do in the future. But at this moment, His Majesty's words gave him a clear path. Moreover, he did not refuse to serve His Majesty. Most of the things he had came from His Majesty after all. Even this life came from the god of death statue designated by His Majesty. Therefore, it was not an exaggeration to say that His Majesty had saved his life. Moreover, His Majesty was a virtuous monarch praised by the subjects in the territory. He was the object of worship of countless subjects. Countless subjects scrambled to serve His Majesty, and he was naturally no exception. Now that such a precious opportunity had finally descended from the sky, he was naturally unwilling to let it go. Zhou Zhou nodded. Uncle Zhao. I'll tell the Prime Minister later. Let's say that this young man called Zhang'an will be specially nurtured by the Blazing Sun Kingdom in the future. The treatment will be the same as Xiao Xian's. Zhou Zhou turned to Zhao Changshou and said. Zhao Changshou looked at Zhang'an in surprise. Good God! Xiao Xian was young, had a lively personality, and had extremely high potential. He could even lead people to search for treasures. He had a status and treatment that could be said to be a national treasure in the Blazing Sun Kingdom. He did not expect this young man in front of him to receive such a status after talking to His Majesty. Really? A fortune that fell from the sky. Zhao Chengshou sighed. Yes, Your Majesty. I'll go now. Zhao Chengshou said respectfully and turned to leave. Zhang An was also a little stunned. He naturally knew about Xiao Xian, the strongest young prodigy in the Blazing Sun Kingdom. The child king in the eyes of countless children. He did not expect that he would actually jump to a figure like Xiao Xian after being reborn. He was a little terrified, but also a little excited and expectant. Zhou Zhou smiled and chatted with him for a while before leaving. In the intermediate grade Lord's Paradise, Zhou Zhou received a notification from the marketplace as soon as he returned. He opened the marketplace and looked over. As expected, the 100 million skill books and 200 million pieces of equipment had already been sold. Trade result, 1006, 050, 315, 135 black iron tier mist cores. Zhou Zhou looked at the astonishing number of mist cores and smiled. There were more than 1 trillion black iron tier mist cores. In other words, there were more than 10,000 legendary tier mist cores. Its value was not enough to make up for the price of buying the original spirit race bloodline, since he had spent 14,000 legendary tier mist cores to buy the bloodline of the original spirit race after all. However, he had at least recovered more than half of his capital. He was very satisfied. Then, he put these mist cores into his heavenly mist treasure bag. After transforming them into legendary tier mist cores, he took out another item. This was a heart that emitted chaotic light. It looked like heavy metal was contaminated. However, this was the only bloodline loot he had obtained from dealing with the heroes of the people of foreign races today. Bloodline name, 10,000 Gu Royal Bloodline, Bloodline level, Legendary tier advanced grade, Bloodline effect. After absorbing it, the user can obtain the bloodline of the 1000 venomous worm race. After fusing with this bloodline, the user will gradually awaken the bloodline ability of the 1000 venomous worm race during their growth. Prompt 1. Fuse 1000 sets of legendary tier advanced grade bloodlines and you can obtain 1 advanced grade high god tier advanced grade, 10,000 Gu insect royal bloodline. 10,000 Gu insect royal bloodline. Zhou Zhou sized up the heart. This bloodline was originally only the bloodline of an epic tier advanced grade. Later on, after the quality of his loots increased by 1, it directly became this 10,000 Gu insect royal bloodline. I wonder how much a legendary tier advanced grade bloodline can increase my original spirit race bloodline. Zhou Zhou thought. He did not think too much about it and chose to absorb it. You have absorbed 1 portion of the 10,000 Gu King race, legendary tier advanced grade. You have absorbed 1 portion of the 10,000 Gu King race, legendary tier advanced grade. Your 6 senses have been slightly strengthened. You have awakened the legendary tier advanced grade King of all Gu talent, King of Gu poison body. You have awakened the legendary tier advanced grade 10,000 Gu royal talent, legendary tier toxin immunity. You have awakened the legendary tier advanced grade 10,000 Gu royal talent, Gu affinity. You have mastered the inheritance of the 10,000 Gu royal family, the 10,000 Gu holy scripture, Book 1. You have mastered the general knowledge of the inheritance of the 10,000 Gu king. You have grasped the secret inheritance of the 10,000 Gu king. Zhou Zhou looked at the bloodline notification and the corners of his mouth could not help but twitch a few times. Good God! A legendary tier advanced grade bloodline could not even increase his chaos human bloodline by a small level. It seemed that as the level of the chaos human's bloodline increased, its requirements for the bloodline level it absorbed became higher and higher. Chapter 587 10,000 Gu King Talent. Recognition of the Death Curse Blood Gu. I can also obtain 2 high-level bloodlines that can be upgraded now. One is the Vampire Bloodline. It can finally be upgraded to the first generation, the Cain-level bloodline, through constant fusion. Among the Cerulean planet lords of my star alliance, there is a vampire kingdom near the territory of the Gold Merchant Lord. If I can take down the vampire kingdom and constantly fuse with the bloodline, I might be able to fuse an existence close to the Cain-level bloodline. Even if it's only upgraded to the bloodline level of a vampire prince, it will be very beneficial to me. The second high-level bloodline is this 10,000 Gu race bloodline. Zhou muttered to himself. According to the bloodline inheritance of the myriad insect race that he had just accepted, there was also the bloodline of the 10,000 Gu god race above the bloodline of the high-level advanced grade true god tier. If he could obtain the bloodline of the 10,000 Gu god race, he would definitely be able to advance his chaos human bloodline. Zhou's goal was very clear. Spiritual Gu Kingdom. Zhou's eyes were cold. Since you have provoked me a few times, don't blame me for destroying your country and turning it into my bloodline power. With his current strength, it was naturally easy for him to destroy a spiritual Gu kingdom that had lost more than half of its heroes. After thinking for a while, he looked at the ability awakened by the king of all Gu. Race talent name, Gu King Poison Body, talent level, legendary tier advanced grade, talent description, as a member of the king of all Gu, you are born good at controlling all kinds of Gu worms. Moreover, you can accommodate all kinds of Gu poison. Your physical fitness will increase slightly with every normal Gu poison you absorb. Your physical fitness and soul quality will increase greatly with every rare Gu poison you absorb. Every time you absorb a god tier Gu poison, not only will your physical fitness and soul quality increase greatly, there is even a very small chance of obtaining additional talents. Zhou looked at the race talent in surprise. It felt a little similar to the chaos human bloodline. They were all top-notch talents that could assist in their own growth. Absorb the Gu poison, Zhou thought for a moment and suddenly thought of something. His eyes lit up. He waved his right hand and opened a world fissure. Then, he stretched out his right hand and took out a blood-colored worm. It was the death curse blood Gu that the heroes of the spiritual Gu kingdom had used to deal with him previously. At this moment, the little worm was already in a listless state. The lightning laws contained in Zhou's small world of lightning and dark clouds restrained it too much. It could last until now only in a listless state and not be directly weakened to death by the thunder law because it was too strong. If it were any other Gu, it would have died long ago. Zhou looked at the worm in his hand. As he watched, an unexpected situation happened. The Gu worm that was previously extremely hostile to Zhou and wanted to implant its death curse blood Gu into Zhou's body suddenly rubbed against Zhou's hand intimately after looking at him twice. It was as if he was wheedling with his family. Zhou was stunned. Then, he immediately looked at the newly awakened talent of the 10,000 Gu King race. Race talent name, Gu Affinity, talent level, legendary tier advanced grade, talent description, as a member of the 10,000 Gu King race, a large number of Gu in the world have an extremely high initial favorable impression of you. You can even use this rare affinity and ability to command them and make unfamiliar Gu for your own use without signing a contract. As expected, this Gu affinity talent is working. Zhou muttered to himself. Then, he looked at the death curse blood Gu in his hand in surprise. My God! This difference in attitude. It would be even more exaggerated than when he used peace and prosperity to obtain the loyalty of the subjects. As expected of the 10,000 Gu King race. If that's the case, Zhou looked at the death curse blood Gu in his hand and his expression gradually turned serious. He floated it in the air with his mental strength. Facing this situation, the death curse blood Gu cooperated extremely well and did not resist at all. It just stayed obediently in the air and looked at Zhou with its innocent small eyes, as if it was curious about what he was going to do next. Zhou did not hesitate. He began to form seals with both hands at an unfamiliar speed according to the contents of the 10,000 Gu scripture, Book 1, that he had just obtained in his mind. Gu Control Sage Seal, Death Curse Seal. This was a sealing technique specially used to curse a gu like the Death Curse Blood Gu. After using it to imprint the Death Curse Blood Gu, the Death Curse Blood Gu would obediently listen to the orders of the person who imprinted it as if it had signed a slave contract. It would not have any thoughts of resisting. It could be said that it completely belonged to the sealed artist from head to toe. Zhou set up the Gu seal. A strange text emitting a blood-colored light floated in front of him. Zhou clapped his hands and saw the strange blood-colored text float towards the Death Curse Blood Gu. In the end, it entered the space between the Death Curse Blood Gu's eyebrows without any resistance and was branded in its soul. At this moment, Zhou and the Death Curse Blood Gu could sense each other and felt a bloodline connection with each other. At the same time, Zhou also felt that his physical fitness had increased greatly. Even though he did not break through, he was about to test the strength of his intermediate-grade physical body. Other than that, what surprised Zhou even more was that he realized that he had awakened a new talent. Talent name, Poison Attached, Death Curse Gu Poison, Talent Level, Low-Tier Deity Elementary Grade, Talent Description, you can attach the Death Curse Gu Poison to any life form and substance. There is a fixed 10% chance that the attached life form will be directly poisoned to death. When the attached substance comes into contact with other life forms, there is a fixed 1% chance that it will directly poison the enemy to death. Note, this talent is only effective on life forms below the low-tier deity elementary grade. Did I obtain an enchantment skill? Zhou was surprised. However, he could not help but frown slightly when he saw the note at the back. If it was only effective against life forms below the low-tier elementary grade, the effect of this talent would be greatly reduced. He suddenly thought of something and his expression changed slightly. Then, Zhou first took out an extraordinary tier sword from his king's treasure box. Then, he tried to attach poison to its surface. A black light flashed, and then the long sword had already begun to emit a faint black light. This was the sign of successful enchantment. However, Zhou suddenly looked pleasantly surprised after the enchantment was successful. This was because he realized that after enchanting once, the chaotic origin energy in his body had only been consumed by about 5%. Which meant, if he made it with all his might, he could completely create 20 poison potions that had a chance of killing low-tier deities in a short period of time or 20 weapons that had a chance of killing low-tier deities. From the looks of it, this talent was quite valuable. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.